Welcome back, me! As you can see, my thingy isn't working on the side there. I've been trying desperately to get this thing to fix itself, but to no avail. So, sorry. Sorry I haven't been around for a while. It's you, it's not me. I've had a lot on my plate, so I'm far too busy right now. I'm absolutely knackered most of the time, so yeah, sorry. Going to be going to a huge event very soon, so that's going to be quite fun. Ever heard of Boomtown, guys?
I think I've heard the name before.
Yeah, there were some rats there in the 80s.
Oh God, no!
Boomtown rats.
Just look at something called Boomtown
I am aware of the
Festival.
Yeah, I am aware.
So if anybody's down there, I'm going to be down there filming. It's going to be great fun. I've got to do about a 3-minute sort of promo video for one of the areas there, which is nice. So yeah, I've been kind of busy. But yeah, today, well, Pascal, where did Pascal go? I was about to talk to him, because he's basically got like an agenda. So,
I'm here.
Yeah, the moment you... Yeah, okay. So, well, over to you, really. What did you want to talk about, Pascal? What's on the top of the list?
Oh, one of the things I wanted to talk about is that the Earth is on fucking fire.
Oh, that. It's okay. It'll be fine. Just keep consuming. Like the other consumers. It's alright. If we consume, it'll be fine. We can consume our way out of this. That's the way to go. Good evening, Dara. How you doing, mate? Hello, Rick. Greets. So
I'd rather...
What's the
not.
problem exactly? What's caught your eye?
Well, the thing that sort of caught my eye was just that these events, in terms of like climate change and that sort of thing, seem to be getting a lot worse than what was predicted. Like over in Alaska, for
So they got it
instance.
wrong. Huh.
Well, they were conservative in terms of their estimates.
So they got it wrong. Ah, see? They don't know shit. That's what
Very
they'll say.
wrong.
We probably don't have a lot
Hello,
of time.
Sophie. It's alright, don't worry about it. You don't have a lot of time left anyway.
That's true.
Some of us have less time than others.
Yeah.
Mind.
Today is always the
So-
last day of your life.
Bastards.
All
So
that sort
when
of
are we
shit.
about to go extinct then?
Sorry?
Me in about 5 years, probably.
When as a human race are we about to go extinct due to all this then?
I'd say probably about another 10, 20 years.
Nah.
Holy shit!
Don't be daft. No, we'll basically extinct the planet with climate changing events. Every last animal's dead. You know, plant life's in trouble, all that sort of thing. But we'll manage. It just won't be much fun.
Well, the microbial life will still be around.
Yeah, exactly. It'll probably just want to eat us.
After a couple billion years, it'll probably grow into something else, and then they get to find, fun little archaeological puzzles. So,
Apocalypse movie, sci-fi kind of deal. Basically, we let climate change run rampant. Everyone's fucked. Like all life pretty much gets fucked over, and basically there's just some weird sort of like, I don't know, creature or microbe or something like that, and the only thing it can eat is us. Dun dun dun. That would be ridiculous.
Well, isn't that the Ebola virus?
It's got to be something. But it's got to it has to live off humans because that's the only food left. Can't get any of the other stuff because it gets killed. Humans aren't the only ones covered in pesticide all the time. Terraform Mars and nuke Earth on the way out. Okay, Dara.
As Bill Maher said, why would we want to terraform? Why would we want to go to Mars? Mars is inhospitable to us. Earth has everything we need.
Hello, Sophia. Yes, life is indeed still going.
well, Mars isn't on fucking fire currently, and it doesn't really have an atmosphere that we can really pollute. Or the moon. Let's go to the moon. Let's start having.
Again.
I don't think we
Space
can.
Force.
I don't think we can all fit on the moon right now.
No. If you wanna live anywhere, why go and live on an inhospitable planet? You might as well just be circling one. If you're going to leave planets, it would just be easier. You've got sun all the time, so you've got just a constant solar sort of power source all the time. Why the
So
hell
it's
not?
consistent. So it's consistent war between those on the light side of the moon and the dark side of the moon.
No, not on the moon. No, on a space station. That's the only sensible thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because
True.
then you can control your gravity and all the other shenanigans like that. But actually going on to planets, it's not always the best plan, really, to be honest with you. The problem with planets is getting off them again. And getting onto a planet's kind of okay, relatively easy, but getting back off some planets is quite the task. Whereas circling around them, yeah, that's not so bad. You can use sort of orbiters as slingshots if you see what I mean. So if you
What
go
if there's a fault? What if there's a fault in the station, though? This idea of being on space stations.
right,
Well, once that fucks up, you've pretty much fucked up everyone on it.
really, so people would design a space station that if one bit fucks up, everything just kind of goes. Blah, 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 blah. There's no redundancy.
He's been watching Doctor Who again, haven't
Yeah.
There can be domino effects, surely.
Well, yeah,
I
but
was-
then you'd safeguard against such domino effects. That would be insane. There's various ways to do it.
Well, I'm not a physicist, I don't know, or an engineer, I don't know.
You got to make them about 1 kilometer wide. At least 1 kilometer wide. It has to be about that in order for it to sort of feel normal. There's certain effects that happen if you're using centrifugal force. Is the shearing effect. So if you're too close to the center, by comparison to your feet, for example, it feels really weird. So you have to.
The point is our planet is fucked.
Yeah, so let's live in space.
It isn't fucked yet.
That's a very good observation. So what would need to happen is to move to renewable energy, like nuclear power.
Well,
Fusion.
cleaner energy sources,
Fusion.
wave power,
Is-
windmills.
It is rather
Fusion.
fascinating. There's been stories lately about one car company, I can't remember, Jaguar, that was it. They're starting to make a lot more electric cars now, and I am beginning to wonder, with our government now legislating that we'll be carbon-free by 2050, yeah, that's useful. I am beginning to wonder if eventually they'll legislate that the only cars that can be made in this country are electric ones.
Eventually, yeah. I think it's the only way to go forward.
All
or at least
European
retrofit, you know? I think
all
there'd be a big
European
market
car-
for that.
all European car companies, in my opinion, can get fucked after the shit they pulled with like diesel. Essentially, they
Wasn't that
made-
Volkswagen?
that was not only Volkswagen. That was pretty much every single, and they found out like after the fact that every single European manufacturer was essentially doing this. That's why there are
Naughty.
incredibly toxic levels of I forget the byproduct of diesel, but it's a problem in certain areas in the UK. Let me see if I can find it.
You heard about sulfur? Or sulfur dioxide, rather.
I don't know what it was. I thought it was something to do with the catalytic converters. Was that something to do with it?
Well, cats were put in to remove certain waste products from exhaust gases. Lead mainly.
No, they don't have lead in there. They take that out.
Well, oh yeah, they did, didn't they?
Hold on, I just want to point out some grammatical horror from Dara here. Can you believe the cast a black as the Little Mermaid, not racist? Just saying, that's terrible grammar. Now back to electric cars.
Can you believe the cast? They cast
They have cast a black
black
voiceover.
as the Little Mermaid.
Yeah, they
Not
cast a black
racist,
woman.
just saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
Disney
just
cast
saying it sounded racist. It's the terminology. Let's say that, Dara.
I
You know,
should
you've
not
just
have
gotta
brought this up. Back to electric cars.
Work on your patter. The most annoying part is them, like the Disney version, was the original version. Well, the Little Mermaid is really like not a real creature anyway, so why does anyone care? Is this some sort of... this isn't War and Peace being rewritten, is it?
Yeah,
it's the
War and
Little
Peace in
Mermaid.
Jamaica.
If you think about it, I mean, the mermaid lived in the tropics, the
Every-
Caribbean.
Everyone's going, oh, think of the children. And it's like, do you know what lessons they take from that? Probably most of the jokes that arrive. That's what the lessons they take.
Well, what upset me was they used the wrong sort of fishtail.
And seeing as their tiny, tiny little minds are basically throwing in and throwing out information at a rate of knots anyway, they probably won't like it and never bother. Because it's fucking Disney.
I mean, basically Disney's doing a money grab anyway.
Kids like the edgy stuff. Disney is what parents buy their kids.
So,
That's what Disney is.
I don't know if you lot. I don't.
And it
think
keeps everyone
you had
employed, and we love them. Thank you very much, Disney.
Did you not have Was there not a program on the TV when you were growing up called Disney Time?
Why is your mic so bad?
So to come up with the site
Because I'm a type bastard.
talking about beforehand, Dirty
Yes.
Money on Netflix is a show, and they give the precise figures. I don't have an article that sort of like talks about it, but on to Little Mermaid being a black girl, I don't care.
Why does anyone care?
and can I just say, I've never even seen the original film.
I can barely remember it.
Would you like a spoiler? She found Nemo.
I have seen Finding Nemo.
But yeah, it's like most of the film was around the Caribbean. And it's like, what's the problem? You do know you get more of a tan if you're underwater.
She could,
Well, not
decide
necessarily. It
come
depends how deep.
and become a human boy for all I care. It's not going to change anything in my life.
Oh, that was the water babies. That was.
She'd be more likely to be purple.
Somebody did a Photoshop job where they got a lantern fish with the big teeth and the hangy lantern at the front, and they superimposed a female's face onto that and said, "This is the new mermaid." That went down well.
Right, back in a mo. Pascal, you're in charge.
And
This
these,
is a version where she gets caught in a fishing net and dies.
The biggest problem, really,
I
is
think they should do a version where basically he slaps the guy awake, and then I saved you, so come live with me. But you live underwater. I don't give a shit. Get scuba gear.
really
I think-
the biggest continuity problem is Sebastian, because he's red. Lobsters only turn red when they die. It's meant to be blue.
Well, it's
Yeah.
global warming, mate. The water's got hot.
Yeah.
No, the opening scene is going to be the Japanese whaling fleet coming in and harpooning her. Or is that the last scene?
It's like, oh shit, we found. It's like,
Pascal, since you're in charge and you had a list of things you wanted to talk about.
Hey Rick, how's it going, buddy?
Well, I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right?
Yeah, right.
Well, no, I just made a list so that these topics can be grabbed by me at any point in time during the conversation.
Whoa, we've got preparation?
Yeah, he actually had a list today.
Holy shit.
I only had one thing potentially wanted to talk about.
And Doctor Who's banned.
Boo! Actually, incidentally, apparently an upcoming episode of Doctor Who is going to focus on global warming.
Oh god, the anti-SJWs are gonna go, see, they're trying to brainwash you. It's like, oh god.
It's going to get better for the anti-SJWs in terms of Doctor Who because they're going to talk about a particular Muslim woman during World War II.
Oh no.
Frankly, I'd like to learn about this. I'm looking forward to that episode because I have no idea who this person is. Might be a very interesting person to learn about.
No, there was one there was a Muslim in the SOE.
Well, it's probably this person they're going to be talking about.
Dropped into France and what was her name?
Yeah, intense heat waves have killed more than 100 people in India this summer.
Oh, blimey.
There's places in India where it's getting to be over 50 degrees Celsius.
Now imagine somebody, dressed with a U.S. flag, and he decides to have an M16 at the ready, and he goes into an area and shoots up 100 people. People are going to be talking about that. This doesn't even get a fucking peep on the radar.
It was actually on the news over here. Yeah.
Yeah, it was also on the news here in Italy. So maybe it's the Anglosphere. People just do not give a fuck about trashing the planet.
Yeah. You Anglos.
Yeah, it's literally just trashing the planet. And, oh, it's not our fault. Yes, it is.
What I mean is that because of the way the human brain works, people don't talk about it with the same fervor that they would if there was an event where somebody's life was taken unfairly, like by somebody's actions. But right now, it's a collective action that's contributing to this, and that's going to be okay. So what people need to start doing is writing handwritten letters to their representatives, because those do have a certain impact, or more of an impact than, say, an email or a tweet would. I see a lot of this. I see a lot of people who are just they're complaining about shit on a day-to-day basis, and they want to do this sort of performative ethics so that, and it's completely egoistical in nature. It's because we want to appear virtuous to our friends. It's like
Virtue signal.
Taking on this thing and being so good and so morally just, but people rarely take actions on a day-to-day basis. People are just gonna keep on dying. Friends who have like kids right now, those kids are going to suffer. They might even not make it the way this is going, like from what I'm seeing, because these events are severe. Like what happened in Alaska is severe.
Wanting to sound virtuous but not actually doing anything, you've just described Carl's fan base in a nutshell.
No, this is everybody. This is like left.
I know.
Actually,
yeah, this is a phenomenon where people they think the problem is too big to solve, and they just lock it away, and put it in another compartment of their brain or something, so they don't have to deal with it. That problem.
yeah, I tweeted about it, so there you go. I did my part.
Back in the I think it was the 60s, 70s, there used to be well, have you heard of the magazine Private Eye?
Yes, of course.
No.
There was in the letters page, there was always something from Disgusted of Tunbridge Wells. And It would be basically your ultra right. Well, in America, your right wing. In everywhere else, the ultra right wing. Person complaining about, I don't know, double yellow lines on a road, or but in outrage, I'm angry, I'm disgusted, it's outrageous, and that's what you're getting now. It's the screaming, shouting. I mean, as we just talked about.
You said this was Private Eye, right?
Yeah.
That's quite a. Ian Hislop's kind of left wing, isn't he?
Yeah, but it was done satirically.
Oh, I see. Oh, it's meant to be a satirical kind of comment section.
Disgusted from Tunbridge Wells. It was like what was it? A letter from Mrs. Trellis.
Well, back in the 60s, at least you had people like John Lennon around in terms of like celebrity voices that would contribute to the
and look where it got him.
Well, yeah, but like I'm saying that the people were a lot more prone to take action and to speak out against this kind of nonsense, other than just to stay quiet and politically neutral.
Politicians were more outspoken and more varied in those days. Nowadays, it's toe the party line. I mean, I can't say so much in Canada. It certainly is in the UK and America.
That's just the problem with a party system, if anything else.
I mean,
With
America.
A two-party system.
I can't think of any country where a candidate could abuse, and he did abuse, a journalist because they are disabled, and to publicly mock them on a television and get away with it.
Astonishing.
And to me, that man, just all he would do, Trump, is he just went, "Oh, I got away with that. What else can I get away with?" And the accountability over there is just bizarre. There isn't any.
His fans just love it, though.
You're triggered. It's like, you live on the same planet as us, so you're gonna die probably of smoke inhalation. Oh, but we get to trigger you. Okay.
I just say a couple. Sorry.
It's like you just want to like put a fucking dome over a place and just dump them all in there with Trump and all the smoke in the world. It's like, there you go. That's your problem now. Enjoy.
I do see a couple of people taking action, like Alyssa Milano, and I think that's a good thing. Like, she had a really bad take in terms of what was it, like the
G20 summit.
No, she decided to try to push this idea of a sex strike for abortion.
Oh yes, that was the stupidest thing in the world.
At least she's trying shit.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that only it's the Republican senators who are doing this, and surely their wives are Republican, who therefore don't agree with the women who are going with the sex strike. So you're effectively punishing the men who do agree with you that abortion bans are bad, to punish the men who aren't going to be affected by any of that strike, who want to ban abortion. That made no fucking sense.
I agree, but to her credit, she's doing more than 90% of people out there. She actually went to go visit the concentration camps that they have at the south of the U.S., and a lot of people have, which is what people should be doing. They should be going over there and demanding to see what's taking place, and just making people feel extremely uncomfortable about what they're doing.
Like they did with the Germans when they were defeating them. It's like, the guys you voted in, the guys you love, the Nazis, come and see what they're doing.
I love how the right wing in America is freaking out over those camps being called concentration camps. That's literally what they are. It's just a technical definition of what they are.
Wait, what camps? Modern camps are we talking here? I've not been following the news clearly.
The ones in the south part of America where they're basically dumping illegal immigrants.
Okay, I think I might have heard of that actually.
They are basically tents, non-air conditioned tents out in the fucking desert, 40 degrees, that's Celsius, no amenities, very few toilets, and the food they serve is disgusting.
And
Oh,
they're still separating the children from the parents.
okay, yes, I did hear about this. Yes,
Yeah.
good God.
Yeah, and yet, you mistreat an American a prisoner. The Americans are gonna be like, outrage! How dare you treat the great American citizens like this? It's like, yeah, what you're doing to other people, we should be cutting them up and sending them back into body bags.
But you're right, Luca. That is astonishing. I mean, when Nazi Germany did fall, all the German youth were then shown what atrocities were being taken,
Not just
and they
the
were
youth, but the population. Patton
Okay.
actually went to the villages, dragged out people, and said, "This is what they were doing in your fucking
Okay,
name.
yeah,
Get on
yeah,
your
like-
knees and start crying."
and like you said, they all saw that and they were horrified. It's now literally happening in America. They're all seeing it and they're like, it's nothing. Wow.
Yeah, this is why, like, when I read this stuff coming from the US and the UK, I'm like thinking, why did you fight the Nazis in the first place? You're turning it into them. Why don't you let us win?
You think it's bad watching? We have to live here.
There's the rest of us as well. We didn't join the Nazis, and we aren't Nazis now. So, yeah.
Yeah, just imagine if Boris Johnson does become Prime Minister. And I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to Macron. Guten Tag. I'm sorry, bonjour. I'm sorry. I forgot how long you were actually German for.
Did you see that Anne Widdecombe speech?
Oh, please don't.
Oh, we talked about that
We
earlier.
are so
God, that was disgusting.
how embarrassing. I mean, she was embarrassing when she was a Tory. She used to be a proper MP, and she's even worse now. I mean, I don't know what it was. Strictly Come Dancing got into her head and made her think she could do something. It could be that it could be actually, this could be really useful for her because she is actually a virgin. She has stated herself many times she's never had sex. Maybe she just needs a good shag.
By the way, is Robin back yet? No, obviously.
But yeah, it's like I'm listening to like, oh, this is like slavery, and
No, it isn't.
it's
That's the
like
normal system in
all
America.
of this shit is like, if Britain falls to dictatorship, I'm just not going to care. It's like, yeah, let the British fucking become monsters. At least then we'll have a reason to kick them in the balls.
Luca, me and Sean kind of care about that. We live here.
Yeah, but I don't.
I want to see the little Italian short ass come over here and kick me in the balls because I'll punch his fucking head.
But yeah, this is amazing. Saying that the British people are slaves. So that's rather interesting. I thought free movement was literally the opposite of slavery.
I would just like to point out that slavery in the UK was abolished by a Yorkshireman.
Oh god.
Yes, and the UK abolished slavery in such a nice way. Hey, we're not gonna pay reparations to slaves. We're gonna pay reparations to the fucking slave masters because we took away their precious property.
Look it up, mate. A guy called William Wilberforce.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying you did it in the fucking worst way possible.
When Muhammad Ali, Obama, all those Jesse Jackson, all the famous American black emancipation people, whenever they come to the UK, they all take a trip to Hull, where the museum of William Wilberforce is, which is where he was born and lived.
Compares Brexit to slaves revolting against their owners and a colonized country rising up against occupying forces. It's like, sure, all those Italian soldiers up there, taking away your children and shagging them.
The idea of reparations, though, for slavery stuff, I mean, I think it's America. I mean, I understand it towards the actual slave masters, but when you see it being done, I mean, obviously I think it's from American sitcoms and stuff like this, but you see things about how the descendants of those slave masters, the families, had to pay reparations to the families of those whose ancestors were slaves. I'm thinking, well, hang on, their descendants are very different people. Why do they have to?
No, I mean I agree with.
Good.
I mean I agree with that. I'm just saying that you should have paid reparations to the slaves as well, not just to the poor mutt.
I agree. I'm just doing a slightly different topic. I don't
Yeah.
understand why. I don't want to understand the whole sins of the father thing.
There used to be a YouTube personage called Black Hitler
I heard that name.
who used to go around demanding reparations.
Oh God.
Oh,
I mean, they joked about this a bit in
Yeah, remember that guy.
They joked about this a bit in Family Guy, actually, where Peter discovers that his ancestor was black, so he goes to a black meeting with Cleveland, and he actually announces to announces to the whole crowd that I finally got reparations from the descendants of those who enslaved my family. Now it turns out that family is white trash now, but they've given me some brownies that I'll share to everyone. And I'm thinking that just kind of sums it up, because what they're essentially saying is Cleveland's doing better than the family of those who were slave owners, sort of thing.
part of the issue with
slaves were also not allowed to own bendy bananas.
What were you saying, Silver?
part of the idea of giving reparations to the plantation owners was because they wouldn't have got it through Parliament if they didn't. I agree. Yes, it was a disgusting. Basically, we paid them to give up their slaves.
Yeah.
Well, at least we got. You might not like the way it was done, but we got the right result.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, isn't their freedoms? I mean, a person's freedom is more is important. How you go about it, well, you can question the ethics behind it, but can you? I mean, we got the right result.
And you didn't need a civil war for it.
No, that was America. Britain don't do civil wars. We tried it in 1644 and we didn't like it.
Is Robin chain smoking right now or something?
Yeah, something like that.
He might be having an intimate moment with his good lady, so whatever.
Oh, so he's left us. Well, left Pascal. He was the one left in charge.
Yeah.
Topics.
I'm about to leave somebody else in charge because.
God.
I want to get to the store.
But where's the list of topics, Pascal?
Yeah.
You'll have leave whoever's in charge, but at least message all your.
Write them down in a side chat.
You guys can't stay on topic, so it's not going to work anyway.
Believe it or not, Pascal, I did actually try to keep us on topic a few times.
We do sort of stay on topic. We can't. I mean, there's the topic, and we drift around it. And if we have that list, then we've got something to anchor us, so we can drift off into the realms of Nazi Germany, slave ownership, but we're going to come back to global warming,
which is a very big problem.
This planet.
Yeah, it really is.
So how about you come up with something, and then you can see people eventually just abandon it wholesale.
I don't want it.
Oh, Sophie says hello, Pascal.
Hello, Sophie. So yeah, I'm gonna be going to the store. Probably gonna take about 30 minutes or so, and I'll be back.
Well, what was the next topic you had in the meantime? We'll talk about that.
I don't know. Just
you have the list, mate.
I'm sure you'll think of something.
Fine.
It's just my topic, and that's not going to be completely interesting to everyone.
Doctor Who? No, that's
no. Oh, there we go.
Well, we could talk.
Who's in charge now?
You didn't leave anyone in charge, Pascal.
Yeah, well, we could talk about the quote-unquote leadership race of the Tory party, which is looking good. I think Robin told me this is literally the choice between being run over by a lorry or by a bus. Like, which one do you want?
I think a bus driver might actually stop.
Oh, did you see the bus of Tommy Robinson getting?
Yeah.
I don't know if you made it
That's
over
very
there.
interesting, but I think we're talking about the leadership race. So
I just jumped on buses. The leadership race is: would you rather be hitting the balls with a large hammer or a small hammer?
well, the small hammer, obviously.
Depends who's holding the hammer. It's of the two. Sophie, I would love to, but I'm not allowed to.
No, Sophie.
I'm banned from doing that.
Well,
No.
Robin, are you back? Oh, I thought I heard him put his headphones on.
You've got Boris, who is a racist, sexist, misogynist, womanizing, disgusting.
Incompetent idiot.
Thank you. Or you've got I can't remember his name. It's gone out of my head.
Jeremy Hunt.
Yeah,
You've got
the
Jeremy-
wrecker of the NHS.
Yes, and you've got to remember to call him, but don't make the mistake of getting his name wrong, because he gets really upset with that. So Jeremy Vagina is he said, well, if a few companies go bust, say la vie. What a nice man. Yeah. And the weird thing is, because basically the Conservative Party was always the party of the employer, never the employee. The Labour Party was the party of the employee.
Well,
Basically, he's saying to the people his party is supposed to appeal to, if you go bust, mate, unlucky.
well, here's the thing. They're a party of certain people now, which are the bankers, the hedge fund people like Mr. Rees-Mogg. They're basically the party of the 0.001% now. Not even the 1%, just the 0.001%.
I'm not allowed to talk about rhubarb. Stop it. But rhubarb gin is absolutely fantastic.
No, we're not talking about rhubarb. We're not going to talk about rhubarb.
But yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm like thinking, okay, how long before the UK as a political entity just collapses?
As far as Jeremy Hunt goes, I'd like to remind people, as Last Lake pointed out, he comes with his own theme music.
Oh, jeez.
Difficult. I don't know. I mean, there are rumours that if Boris takes over, then Philip Hammond, who's the present Chancellor of the Exchequer, has got a group of 30 MPs, Conservative MPs, who will put in a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister. That will trigger a general election.
Woo!
The only trouble, I mean, I don't. If you saw the Sunday papers last week, Jeremy Corbyn is too frail to be Prime Minister now.
What? He's too old?
No, frail. He's not well enough, healthy enough.
Ah, okay.
Which then a picture of him on a BMX bike or something turned
This
up.
is a bloke who push bikes around London, who works on his idea of a fun afternoon is digging in his allotment. He's not fit enough to be the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
But the more worrying part of that is that it supposedly was released by a member of what do you call them? The civil service. And civil
Rick,
service.
what are you smiling about?
Civil servants are supposed to be
And
apolitical.
that video you linked.
Yeah, I know.
Oh god, if Hunt becomes Prime Minister and that guy follows him around all day, it's gonna be fucking hilarious. And it's like, look at Britain, they're even worse than Italy right now. Like literally, I'm sitting there going, okay, guys, stop. I'm literally concerned because Britain is supposed to be better than Italy. You're sliding worse than we are. I'm going, what the hell is going on here?
Britain's going down faster than a cheap $20 whore.
But yeah,
And
like
the difference is, at least a cheap $20 whore has some standards.
but yeah, if there is a general election, how high do you think the voter turnout will be?
Oh, good question. Really depends on the youth at this
Excellent
point.
question. actually.
Because I'm
Um,
sitting there thinking if I think people are tired at this point. I think it's gonna be not even 30%.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the youth. The youth have been quite engaged as a result of
the
Brexit.
advantage, right? If you get a high turnout, you will, although you won't get a Labour government because since the Scottish Parliament, that's how the Conservatives got rid of a Labour majority, because Scotland used to be basically 100% Labour, so you had like 30 odd seats. They were solid Labour seats, and therefore those 30 seats, if you added them now to the Labour Party, you'd have a Labour government. So by introducing the Scottish Parliament and the Scottish Party, and getting SNPs to come in, excuse me, the Conservative Party quite cleverly manipulated it so that Labour's really going to struggle to take over. The Tories couldn't have done much worse in the general election than they did last time. There are still maybe 5 or 6 seats that are borderline, but pretty much there, unless they do something really, really stupid.
Like,
and trust me, they're doing their best to try and be really, really stupid.
Like making sure Brexit happens at all costs.
Without a deal, and allowing Nigel Farage to just spout his fucking bullshit. Whereas every sensible government in the world would just be fucking shutting him up and putting him in jail forever.
Well, it's part of the British psyche. We had, Farage and Boris both went on topical, light-hearted TV shows where they became accepted faces. Possibly because they're a bit posh, whereas you had people like Nick Griffin, who was equally as unpleasant, but because Nick Griffin's from a bit more common, bit more Tommy Robinson type person, they were literally shafted and shat on. Don't get me wrong, I'm quite happy that they were shafted and shat on, but I think that the other two people, Farage and Boris, should both also have been equally shafted and shat on.
Yeah, what is the UK and posh people? You really like posh people.
Oh, he sounds posh, therefore he must be smart. Like, that's stupid.
If you're too posh, we just got your legs right out under you.
I don't understand. Is there something wrong? I can't hear you very well. You're coming through indistinct. Is it just me, or is it? I mean, it could just be me. Anybody else having an issue?
Yeah, I can barely hear him as well sometimes.
Oh, okay. That's better.
The volume's fine. It's what you're saying is indistinct.
But yeah, it's this idea. Oh, he's posh, therefore he sounds posh, therefore he must be smart. It's like no, just.
Well,
Which one's this?
No, we're just talking about how Farage and Johnson are accepted because they sound posh, whereas Nick Griffin got shafted because he sounds too much like a common person.
I have returned.
Oh, finally! Thank goodness.
Finally!
Sorry,
Were
I
you
got a
chain
cold.
smoking or something?
No,
Oh,
I
cold,
just had a
okay.
cold. Sorry. Anyway,
it's all right.
I blame Canada.
Blame Canada.
blame Canada all you like.
Oh, blame Canada.
Oh,
I blame General Wolfe for doing Quebec.
We were just talking about the Tory leadership race.
That's a
And
race,
what-
is it?
And what fun it's going to be for the UK.
That looks like two guys falling down a hill after a piece of cheese.
They sent out the voting slips to all the addresses listed for the members of the Conservative Party, the Conservative members who are allowed to vote. of the 100,000 votes that there are, approximately, they sent out over 200,000 voting slips because they sent to the addresses, not the people.
Great.
So they owe 2 houses.
Also, guess what the voting margin for this election is? 0.2% of the entire UK population.
Yep.
And yet, from the shit the Brexiteers have been shouting since day one about the EU,
This is
yeah.
democracy. It's slightly different.
Get me out of this country.
You gotta love it.
No, I don't.
Otherwise, you
Don't have to love it.
So, yeah. Where did Pascal go? Did he go to bed?
Yeah, he went.
He's gone to the store.
He'll be back soon.
He's-
30 minutes, he said.
He
We
did
did
some
ask him to leave
storage.
his list, but he wouldn't.
He did what?
We did ask him to leave his list of topics, but he wouldn't leave it.
Said we'd go off topic. As if.
Well, I've been away for so long. I was expecting you guys to be sort of like choking at the bit here.
We've talked about lots of things.
Yeah.
Where?
Like prostates.
How?
No, we never talked about that. And we certainly didn't talk about rhubarb or Doctor Who.
Oh no, we did such a bit of Doctor Who.
No, we never.
You're not helping.
Only because there's an episode coming up in
This is not helping the show, guys. Let's see if the people in the chat can save us. Well,
The
they got to
chat
save
was on about
themselves.
rhubarb, not me. I never brought it up at all, honestly. Trust me.
Alright.
Tomatoes are the best soup. This is where we're going with the conversation at the moment. I go away for just a few minutes, and it's like anarchy out there. We got tomatoes in our garden. Mum also makes good Chinese tomato soup. This is what happens when you let too many people with Asperger's syndrome in one place.
And you're spelling it M-O-M as opposed to M-U-M like a proper person.
This is why you people won't be able to take over.
We don't want to take over the UK.
Maybe Farage is right.
There's nothing there we want.
Well, if you don't, somebody else will.
If this is the spelling we're going to have to put up with, I bring back Farage.
Also, Bakura and Sarah Fox, you know the Bowler Man, the YouTuber?
Bowler Hat Man, yeah.
Yes, he basically said that Brexit deal will cut off the northernmost parts of the UK out of a lot of money of development.
Yes. Yes.
Oh God, yes.
Well, the only people investing in the north of England
was the EU.
The EU were the only people shoving. I mean, right, Sunderland, which voted strongly to leave. Hartlepool voted strongly to leave. South Wales, okay, not north of England, different country or principality, voted strongly to leave. Those three areas have had the most EU investment of the UK. If you please don't ask me to find it. I don't know if I could. The UK has 9 of the 10 worst or poorest areas of the EU. It also has the richest.
London.
Yeah. But even parts of if you start hacking up London, Westminster is by far the richest part, followed by City of London. But I think it's definitely south of the river. I think it could well be Brixton, but I can't remember exactly. That's in the top 10 shittiest parts of the UK, poorest parts of the UK to live in.
And the EU has been giving you all this money.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, it's supposed to be evil.
Oh, cool! Night mode. Awesome. Sorry.
You got what?
I've got a night mode on this camera.
Yeah.
Oh, mode. Sorry.
No, somebody in the chat is saying Scotland and Wales should leave Britain and join the EU.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And then we'll invade.
Please invade us. Please invade us.
Are you sure?
And
Yes!
Yorkshire. I'd just like to say Dara and Yorkshire.
And Northern Ireland.
Also vote to leave, by the way.
Leeds, my part of the UK didn't vote leave. We voted to
No, Wales.
Wales voted to leave.
Okay.
Yeah. Weird.
Scotland voted to remain. Northern
Northern
Ireland voted
Ireland.
to remain.
I mean, some people would say that was pretty, stupid. You know?
Well, yeah, well, especially when you realise how much money was in. I mean, I do sort of blame the EU because when the EU have invested, they've never made a big thing about it.
Well, because every
Possibly
single
because they
time,
never thought they had to.
well, because every single time we tried to make a big deal out of it, the fucking British were like, "Oh, how dare you, you evil dick!" It's like we can't please you.
No, but when you've invested, I mean, like, I mean, I know I've seen it in other countries where this building has been assisted by a grant from the EU and a pretty big stickery billboardy thing. We didn't do that in the UK. We just thank you very much for the money. So, but I mean, I don't really think that.
Like I said, because every single time a billboard went up, people called it propaganda. So there's no fucking pleasing you people.
Where did you get that idea from? You actually think that the billboards went up in the UK? No, they didn't. But that's because people thought, well, we don't need to do that. I mean, sensibly, people thought we don't need to do that. But obviously, we fucking did.
You know what's equally interesting? The only working class area that voted to remain was Liverpool. And what's the big difference in Liverpool compared to the other working class areas? They don't sell the Sun. And of course, the Sun, interestingly enough, James O'Brien, he was actually, what he was saying on his radio show, on his LBC show, he was wondering how on earth are these newspapers like the Sun and whatnot still having so much influence when they're a dying industry. And eventually it came to him because they're paying to have big billboards of their front pages on the shop windows and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
this
that's
is
what
an
everyone's reading.
investment. This is, this isn't sort of like a business model. This is an investment. It's a plaything for rich people to carry on, so they can propagandize people.
I think there's that wonderful quote from Mr. Rupert
Hello,
Murdoch that
Bleedful.
said that.
Carry on, man.
Said that.
No, I was saying that there's that wonderful quote from Mr. Rupert Murdoch that said, "When I go to Downing Street, they always listen to me. When I go to the EU, they never bother with me." And it's like, yeah, you can kind of see why he wants to leave the EU, because he wants his own little puppet state.
Oh yeah, I mean he controls Fox in America, and they're not at all right wing.
Nice.
So, has Katie Hopkins been thrown in jail yet? Forever?
Why the hell did you bring that piece of vomiting shit up?
Because
If you're not allowed to talk about Doctor Who,
if you guys want to come back in the EU, those are the conditions. Katie Hopkins, Farage, Tommy Robinson, Carl, they all have to be in jail forever, and they can't speak ever, like solitary confinement.
He's slowly killing people again.
They're not gonna die in jail. You just have to feed them once in a day.
That's
once in a
slowly
day.
killing people.
They're gonna die in there eventually.
Once in a lifetime.
They're gonna die eventually of old age. Don't worry. You still give them medical treatment.
Good.
I'm not throwing them in a fucking concentration camp. I'm not a barbarian
you're not
like the
a
American.
monster. Oh, nice. I love this thing.
Your camera.
Ooh. Very good in low light.
Yeah.
And a high dynamic range.
Is it sexy?
It's a little black box for recording.
To it.
Yeah, but the way
it's...
you speak about it sounds like it's sexy.
Okay.
That's just your voice, Robert.
I think you need to get a girlfriend, mate. It's just nice, that's all.
Yeah, but the way you talk about it, you're always like, nice.
Because I've got possibilities.
Oh, that's what that feels like.
Okay. As far as production is concerned, I can only really use the lowest settings, really. And if I want to use any higher settings, I have to hack them. So everything else is ridiculous. Everything after that, I've got to basically have an entire system working for it to even run it. Which is pretty awesome. 4K 60. 400, what was it, 400 megabit? Absolutely scandalous.
Are we on about your computer system now?
No, if only my computer system could run that.
Hey, Sophie just spelled colour with a U.
There we go, good girl, Sophie.
Well, she's not an American.
You're in Britland now.
I don't
Welcome.
I don't want to come across all poncy, but where she comes from, that is how they spell it.
Oh.
No,
over here.
God, this is going to screw me. I think she's in
over
Belgium
here?
or Holland.
Well, she's from Zealand, but
She's
over
Holland,
here,
yeah.
Hey guys, check out this
over
tweet.
here, just allow both English and American spelling. They are fine with both.
So there.
Well, just taking a look at that tweet, Ben, quote, technically Confederates died to end slavery, end quote. Garrison is at it again.
Civil War dead number 620,000, with the American and Confederate flags on a monument.
And reparations column paid in full. It's like, well, there's a lack of labels here. I'm not saying him labeling the Confederate flag.
Ooh.
I'm assuming that's the last one he needed to have a label to.
Well, quote from Sophie again. I'm assuming she's referring to the color thing. I have learned that in middle school.
Yay. Thanks for middle school.
I mean, how appalling is our country when people of another nation can speak and converse in English better than a lot of the English people can?
I think that's true in all countries, really. You know, you've got... I mean, you know, people were kind of saying to me, sort of like in Japan, for example, or whatever, like that, they're going to go, oh, they're a bit racist over there. And it's like, people are a bit racist everywhere. You know, the people who travel, they're not there. The people who decided to go somewhere else, they're not there. So it's the ones that are left. You know, they're the sort of like nationalistic, you know, never left, you know, their own county kind of people.
It's funny that.
It is the
Well,
way
I
of
lived in
things.
Germany for 8 years.
Are you saying, Robin, that the British Tourism Board should not be promoting staycations?
Let's be honest.
I don't
After
think I'm saying
October
that.
31st, we ain't going to have a lot of choice.
I still love the fact that there are people who think that even if the UK leaves out of the deal, they're gonna be able to go to other
Ooh.
places and retire there. It's like, yeah, no.
Well,
Actually, hang on. Sophie's just said something very interesting. In the Netherlands, we learn French. I think you mean French, darling. French, German, and English in middle school.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But we only
And
learned second
Spanish.
language.
I didn't learn Spanish, by the way.
We-
so, yeah.
Well, that's interesting because I mean, I think in middle school, I remember we learned a bit of French, but it wasn't until secondary school that we got the option of multiple languages, many languages.
My first English taught at school was at basic school. That's from 10 to 12 or something. That's the first time I was given English.
See, all you other countries, you've done everything to appease the British and the Americans and
Well,
the
no,
Australians.
My
No, not
village
so much.
school, the school in my village spoke, you did many languages. You learned to speak many languages, mainly from the other kids in the class, because it was next to university. that specialised in overseas students. So my first Indian meal was cooked for me by an Indian lady. And her
Ooh.
family.
Cultural appropriation.
Well, this was in this would have been the 60s. You didn't really see Chinese and Indian restaurants as much in the 60s. Like early middle 70s, they started coming in, but when we went on holiday, it was always abroad, and it was always when we went. When we were dragged over there, it wasn't a case of eat fish and chips. No. You're gonna eat the food you get. You're gonna eat their food, which I thank my parents for a great deal, because apart from meeting foreigners, I'm sorry to call you foreigners, but it was great. It it helped you realise what the world was. I mean, this were when I say late 60s, we're talking 68, 69.
Ooh, I'm liking Laughing Pug's comment. I took Spanish in middle school. Mind you, that was between the suspensions and stabbings. Stabbing. Excuse me.
Well, those teachers with their knives, brutal, weren't they?
Yeah, they should have guns.
You will learn this language. Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, they should have guns. That'd be more effective.
Did you see people's faux outrage at the female footballer who, having scored a goal against England, decided to mind drinking a cup of tea?
Yeah,
On the last leg, yeah, I saw that.
I saw a response to that from one British person on Twitter, and he said, "Oh, should we just, if England scores, should we mock the Americans by shooting up a school then?"
That was me, you bastard. I wrote that.
Apparently that drinking tea thing was meant to be a nod to the Boston Tea Party or something.
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, fine. Let's be honest.
Fucking cares?
It was funny. It was funny.
Who
I mean,
fucking gives a fuck?
Yeah, I only heard about it on the last leg because I don't watch football.
Look at the day. I mean, we've just had the American Independence Day celebrations. So, I mean, it's quite appropriate for when she did it. And to be honest, it was quite funny. I mean, personally, it's, when I've gone over to America, it's, excuse me, when you make tea, it's boiling water, not Boston water. But carry on. I mean, Americans can't make tea. They call Lipton's tea. And if you've ever had Lipton's tea, it is disgusting.
It's tea, of course it's disgusting.
Oh, you're gonna...
God, we've got the foreigners kicking off again.
Yeah. Why are so many foreigners in here?
I mean, you guys started a war over tea by literally dumping a bunch of drugs into China.
Let's be honest, that wasn't over tea, that was over taxes.
Dusty! You're right, mate.
Hey, Dusty.
Pug.
Yeah,
Good evening.
a pug.
Greetings,
A
how you
pug
doing,
with a
mate? It's been a
box.
while. You've been alright? You got a...
Mostly.
You claim it was over taxes, but we all know it was because you can't make a decent pot of tea.
Well, we sort of dumped all that in the ocean to prove
Precisely.
that case.
You can't make a decent pot of tea.
Yeah, because...
Salt water doesn't work in tea.
They're going through their sort of democratic sort of what's the word, growing pains, where it's like no taxation without representation. Now it's no taxation.
Period.
Growing
Yeah.
pains.
You want me to represent you?
Yeah, taxation is theft,
No
apparently.
taxation for the rich, all the taxation for the poor.
That's exactly Boris Johnson's idea.
If you pay attention to history, we're within the range where the Republic is supposed to fail.
Hooray!
What do you mean supposed?
No, you're like the kid who was cool in high school and still thinks they're cool, and every one of us have grown up, and we're just looking at you and thinking, what the fuck, dude? Grow up.
If history is any lesson, It's 200 to 500 years. That's how long a republic lasts.
Yeah, my country's republic lasts
I don't know. I
longer.
thought we lasted a bit longer than that, but that was an empire.
So, a monarchy is a good idea then for governments?
No,
Governance?
monarchy's an awful idea.
It does last a long time though.
Well, only because we've allowed it to.
To be fair,
It's part
our
of the British
monarchs.
class. I mean,
Let's
the
be
British class
fair.
system is-
Hey, so Fox, let's be fair. The Queen is a lot more reasonable than fucking Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with our
But
monarchy, though, is
that's
our monarchy
individual.
How
does
do you know?
our monarchy does actually take a step back from politics, just merely to signing anything that has been democratically agreed on.
Your monarchy is name only, basically.
Exactly. It's really.
Yeah.
I mean, we still give them our taxes, but
I mean, it's you get. I mean, one of the arguments you get is, oh well, tourists only come over here because we've got because we have the royal family, which is absolute bollocks. They come
know.
over to look. I
There's
mean,
the
let's be
rain as
fair,
well.
You know, you see so many queens, you know, when you're strolling around Buckhouse. No, they come to see the tradition, the history, and all that kind of stuff. Which is, I mean,
they come to see where they come to see where Diana died, not realizing that's in Paris.
They come to see the big clock and castles. That's about it.
and Yorkshire cricket.
No,
No,
Yes,
no.
there was a party of Americans visiting Scarborough this week who attended the Yorkshire cricket match, and they were they were amazed how much. Well,
Centuries.
I'm sorry, but I listened to the interview with them on the radio and was, you know, because let's be fair, what the fucking hell's an American doing A in Scarborough and B attending the cricket
Scarborough.
match? Scarborough, aye, lovely place.
Don't lie.
hey, we've got 11 people watching right now.
Hello, 11. How
It
you
measures
Well,
doing?
one of
in-
those is me,
Keep
but
telling you it measures.
Why are
in
you
town.
watching
one
yourself,
of
you
them's
weirdo?
technically me too.
That's
so,
weird.
yeah.
Why are you guys watching yourself? You don't need to.
well, because it's rather difficult to see the screen in front, the comments in front of it, which is just okay. Admittedly, it's not blurry
You
today,
can
but
use
still.
a pop out.
I always,
On top of that, I might want to comment on it.
The pop out
I
on the
always look
chat.
at the screen because that's how we get. I can see the instant feedback from the
Yeah.
thousands of people watching.
Yeah.
Because I
exactly.
know that your counter only works in thousands. So it's not 11 people, it's 11,000 watching.
One of these days, that joke's going to land.
No, it'll never land. That's part of the joke.
So wait, still haven't managed to fucking top 9 then.
Up your
Well, he
what?
did during the Gamergate days,
How
but
you
we don't
doing,
talk
mate?
about those.
So yeah,
Oh god.
That didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking
So
what you been doing?
paranoid.
What you been doing, Dusty?
about. Video games?
Yeah. What you been playing?
Currently? Natural Doctrine.
Natural Doctor.
How does a-
Doctrine.
How does,
That
how does a pug play video games with paws?
We're not going to go through that LARP right now.
Natural Doctrine is fucking hard as hell.
So, is that all I'm going to get? It's hard. Is it like the Dark Souls of what?
What
Help me out.
It's like the Dark Souls of Final Fantasy Tactics.
That's okay. That's something. And what's Final Fantasy Tactics to you? I've never got the series. It looks so JRPG. I want to cry.
The Tactics ones is an offshoot. It's not actually a JRPG.
But I should say, apparently Sophie says I'm going to England next year to have a train tour, so that's what tourists do.
Why, Sophie? Why?
Because she's going to go to the North Yorkshire Steam Railway.
You're going to go to Scarborough.
No, it doesn't go to Scarborough. It goes from
Yeah,
Pickering
it doesn't
to
make
Gross.
it to Scarborough. You'll have to get a bus.
No, we have trains. They do have trains in Scarborough, just not the steam.
Scarborough.
happen.
Yeah.
So about trains, I was looking at a documentary about in the 60s, the UK tried building a sort of tilting trains to use on the older,
Yeah.
and
remember those.
it failed, and they sold the patent to Italy, and Italy made a train that actually worked. So I'm
Yay! A
sitting there,
victory for Italy!
I'm sitting there thinking, okay,
Yeah,
okay, the
Didn't you make
British
the
did
Panda-
this
Is it the Pandolino or
Let
the
him have his
Pendolino?
moment.
Pendolino.
Thank you.
Everybody gets to win at least one, right?
Mm,
Well, Sophie says because train trips are fun.
they are.
Yeah, she's
What
right.
about? Does that Thomas the Tank Engine themed train station still exist? I used to go there as a child.
What?
I don't know. Is it down south?
I don't know. I was a child when I went there.
Well, you must
used
know
to go-
where. Well, I mean,
You
let's
know
be
where
honest.
I was
I
about
don't,
6. Still there.
I don't think the actual place was it Sawdor. I don't think the island exists, mate.
It wasn't an island. I did. All I remember was for my birthdays, I would normally get to go to this Thomas the Tank Engine themed train station. It would be trains all built with Thomas and Percy and all that.
I mean, the National Railway Museum, which is in York, which is up north, by the way, is a wonderful day out and it's still free because it's a museum. A museum should be free. History is to be learned from, not lived in.
I want to go to England, but I don't want to support you fucking so
Yeah.
I'm glad I can't understand a word you're saying.
Yeah. You really shouldn't come and support us, Rick.
If you do come over, bring a food parcel. We'll need them.
I just come over to laugh. It's like you're worse than my country right now.
But wait, I think we should say the blind man is here. Hello, Drew.
Hello. That's a bit of a rude way to.
Drew, did you have you stopped doing your podcast?
Wow, dude, nobody can hear you.
Oh,
We can't hear you.
well, that's cool. All right. What? Can you hear me now?
A little better, yeah.
No. All right. Well, I'll try to speak into the microphone. I was saying that that's actually a very ableist sort of way to introduce somebody. By speaking as their disability first. But hello, it's welcome back to the open house. It's very nice to be here. It's very
I thought
lovely
it was
to-
just a statement of fact, really.
Well, yeah, but it's well, rude statement. It's sort of like saying, like, I know, and here's the black person that has come on the stream. Say hello.
Oh, come on! You hang out on the internet.
Here he is,
Well, yeah.
Drew, the guy who never has to be the designated driver. Is that better?
Let's be honest. Being blind's a gift on the internet. You don't have to look at a lot of shit.
Yeah, good point.
Even worse.
I recommend it. If you want to join us, all you have to do is poke out your eyes with a stick.
Yeah, that's the thing about blindness, the
Or-
fact that you don't have to look at things.
Or
God, I
look
mean-
at the sun for
Isn't
too
it
long.
great?
It's all
Yeah.
it's because we're born with eyes, but we have to go through a lot of this bullshit. I mean, seriously, for us, the game is rigged.
Yeah, well, not anymore, because I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
I was
I
going to say
knew
you
you.
stopped it, haven't you?
Well, but
Yeah.
you had like a whole catchphrase thing.
Your catchphrase is.
Why is my music bleeding in from your mic,
I mean,
Drew?
everyone knows the game is
And
rigged.
my voice.
I keep putting it out. It's sort of, it's kind of old, don't you think?
So are you going to do a new one?
I'm thinking some form of YouTube stream type of situation. You know, here those are popular these days.
By the way, Drew, we for some reason are echoing through your mic for some reason.
Yeah, that's because I'm doing it on the phone. I go to the computer.
He has, because of his sight problem, he has to have his microphone switched up.
Right.
Oh. Okay, looks like we're fine now. Oh, no, he's muted. Excuse me. My fault.
Anyway, I'm off again, guys. Bye.
No worries, mate.
See ya.
Dear Rick.
Take it easy.
Oh, Drew's here twice now.
All of Drew.
I would like to buy all the bathwater, please.
Buy all the bathwater?
Have you not seen this
Yeah.
story?
No.
Yeah, but see,
Don't forget
I don't want it
Who wants to
sent to
explain
me.
it?
I want it destroyed.
Who wants to explain it?
What?
You
No one can
can.
explain it. It's utter.
You explain it, Robin, because you've been remarkably silent for
The
the
gamer,
show.
the gamer girl, the gamer girl bathwater story. Does that help?
He
No.
doesn't do anti-social
Wow.
media, remember?
You're
I
like,
haven't been really. I honestly, I've not been looking at Kotaku in action for a week now.
no.
Oh, yeah. So,
I'm surprised you managed to escape it. Really, that's a level of ignorance that I don't even think I could actually manage.
well, an expert level thought managed to sell her bathwater for
See,
$30
even Dust,
for little.
like Dusty, is like a hermit. He just closes off from the world.
Very effectively, in fact. I've been
Robert,
gone for what, 6 months?
I
There's
know.
there's an easy reason why I haven't heard this story. I mostly get my news from Radio 2, BBC Radio 2.
Right. What's
Hardly
the
gonna know
internet?
about this, am I?
What do you do
I
on the
learn a bit
internet?
What do I do on the internet?
What do you do with it?
With the
What
internet?
porn? What else is there to do?
Yeah, watch porn and anime, that's all I do.
Porn and okay.
Don't you need a license to watch porn now?
Not yet.
No,
They've delayed it again.
No, look, it's when it comes to this sort of thing, it's basically right. What we'd like you to do is this, and the IT people go, "Can't be done, mate. What are you talking about? That would be insane." How do you expect me to do this?
There are some age verification companies that have, funnily enough, cropped up because of this.
Yeah, but it's not working. It's just
Yeah.
not working.
Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe-
They're
Robin,
morality
one.
policing,
Robin,
and they're
major
supposed
porn-
to. They're supposed to be. The problem is they don't in their own base. It doesn't work.
also, Robin, don't underestimate the British government. They're currently trying to leave the EU with a deal. They are gonna try and enforce this thing.
Yeah, then more to the point, it's not even just going to be porn. There's already something going through, but it doesn't even have to go through Parliament. It can go through an existing legislative body, but will pretty much require it for age verification for everything.
And now they've been trying to use the American fucking civil or the rebellion as an example of how this could be done.
And on top, and it's interesting, equally, Ireland have just recently announced, because they've had an election. No, wait, that was Spain. But in Ireland, their minister has said that they're going to copy the same. They're going to age verify porn sites, and the reason is because they just had their equivalent of the Jamie Bulger murders. And there were some boys who killed a 14-year-old Russian girl and raped her, and when they got their phones, they found all kinds of porn on it, and porn searches like Russian girls, choking, child porn, those kind of search terms.
Nice.
You know, it would certainly help if these kids had something called parents.
Yeah, funny that.
Well, some of them don't.
What's the sum?
Some kids don't have parents.
Oh,
The
true.
majority don't have parents. What they have is a paycheck machine.
No, all kids have parents. Where do the kids come from?
They're just not always around.
Nice. I just took a photo of the screen and every single pixel, even the sort of like the crosshatch of each thing's in there.
Yeah, my sister's husband, he used to work for the police taking 999 calls, and he would talk about the fact that that obviously kids are getting more violent and getting arrested more and stuff like that. And he actually pointed out that a lot of this does come down to with, obviously there are some more equal opportunities. A lot of everyone can now work. And he said, all sexism aside, the problem is that the mothers aren't actually at home looking after the kids.
I think that's the trouble with statements like that is it isn't just that.
Yeah, fathers are spending less time with kids nowadays.
There
too.
is, I mean, it's a multitudinal list of things. You know, I mean, when I grew up, you went to go out, you went to the, as a kid, teenager, you went to the youth club and messed around with, and you met other kids from other schools and got to know people that way. And then you went out to work and you met people in another social sphere, and then you're allowed, you reached 18 and, officially reached 18 and were allowed to drink, so you were allowed in pubs. Now,
Of course.
with the closing of youth clubs, where do kids go between 12 and 15? They hang around on street corners because there's nothing for them to do.
Oh, well, around here they hung out in cornfields because we never had the clubs to begin with.
Or you had me, who just really didn't want to interact with anyone and just stayed at home and went watch telly.
There's that.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody else.
With others, but I wasn't interested.
I was
I
bored
had a
with
video
television,
game
but it was
console.
okay because I had a little thing called the internet, and so that solved that problem.
It saved your little bacon.
Oh,
It did. I learned all
You're
sorts
so
of
young.
fascinating things at a very young age, thanks to boredom.
Shenanigans.
You had the internet when you were a kid. You're so young.
I'm millennial.
Oh, those are terrible things.
I know it's the worst.
Fuck off, you
And
bunch
Sam,
of bastard.
You're all a bunch of millennials.
No, I'm not.
I like
Yes,
this has
you are.
basically become the old man podcast where we just talk about what's wrong with these darn kids today.
I was born 1 year before the cutoff to be a millennial. Thank you very much.
The only thing you
Really?
can ever work out is what was wrong with your generation.
You know what? I don't like to give my age,
And it was their fault.
live because of doxing. But genuine question: how old do you think I am? Because a lot of people tend to think I'm young when I ask them, think I'm way younger than I actually am.
40.
I'll put it this way: you're nowhere near as old as I am.
Well, no. But on this question, mate.
I'm not saying
I'm
old, but
I'm not saying it as the amount of time that you've been around the Earth. I'm saying it as in you may need to think about something. 40.
Okay. Oh,
early 30s.
I'm using my expert analysis abilities for voices. I would have to say I would peg your age at about 84 years old.
yeah, sure.
So were any of us
Oh.
close?
We were
I'm
actually
not-
on the top. We were on the topic of age verification. There's one company that actually offers a form of age verification rather than giving you identifying details. It just it does facial recognition and it determines your age that way. But it acknowledges
Jesus.
it will only work on people who are over 28, or confidently rather on people who are over 28.
I'm not saying I'm old, but I do remember watching England win the World Cup in 1966.
You're gonna have
You're
to
old.
basically have sort of like iris verification just to be able to have a wank at some point. You know.
Yeah, but they don't work when you've got cataracts. Bastards.
Oh, and to answer the earlier question, I'm thinking a sort of live stream to YouTube group chat sort of show might be pop. I hear that's all the rage these days.
Are you going to
so
call it the closed house?
it's
Aha!
yes,
You
the opener
wouldn't,
house.
mate.
I have no idea what I'm gonna call it, but
The more open house, the
game is
slightly
rigged.
more open.
That's what you could call it. The game is rigged.
I mean probably.
The
I don't
open
know.
house.
I'll do it next month, and there'll be tweets, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be the best show you've ever seen.
Oh,
Well, how
well,
would
that's
you know?
nice. You know,
Well, I guess I would.
maybe a little present company accepted, anything like that. You know, lie to me.
I mean, well, no, you guys have been great, but I mean, haven't been on all month, so you know, I've had no. But it's good to be back.
I've been busy. I've had. Hey, Maggie.
We still have a whole lot of problems in the world that need solved, and I still have the same solution.
What was your
Does
solution
it-
again?
You're an American. Does it involve guns?
Sort of.
I'm
Kill
interested.
all the people.
I like this start.
No people, no problem.
Or at least no
Okay.
people problems.
Yeah.
But no
Oh,
people
Mac.
solutions, Dusty.
Well, I like to keep them final.
But you mean no people except you, presumably?
I'm not a person. I'm a bug.
I don't know where Mycroft is, Mags. Why don't you message him and tell him to get his ass into
Ah.
here?
No,
No.
don't.
Well, he can step
Please
things up
do.
a bit.
Chat needs more Americans. Internet show needs more Americans.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got anybody you want to invite. Maggie, do you want to come on?
So-
Maggie's in Poland right now.
What do you mean? I'm not.
Is she collecting
American.
intelligence on the president?
What? No,
What?
she's gone to see her mum.
Oh, okay.
She's
Well, that's
preparing
exciting
to
too.
invade Germany in revenge.
I've disowned this country. Thank you very much.
Hmm. Oh, I forgot
So-
to put a fade in. The snaps. Ugh. Jump
The
cut hell.
level of stupid.
So is anyone okay with just literally for a little bit talking about how Anita Sarkeesian appears to be scaling back feminist frequency?
Scaling
And
back,
nothing of
she went
value
broke.
was lost. There, we talked about it. Cool.
She didn't fucking scale anything back. She went broke.
That's what a lot of people are saying, but she's still got $200,000 last year or something like that. I would not be surprised if a lot of it is now that she's not getting the same attention she used to get. She's currently lost to corporate investors now because they're not interested in her because she's not a flavor of the month anymore.
Imagine that.
I love
Wow,
it.
I can't believe
Sorry,
it.
have you noticed in the chat, Maggie's actually asking?
I've
How
sent
do
it to you on
enjoy-
Skype, Maggie. I'm just going to go and smoke this.
But it is an interesting situation with Nisha. I mean, she's been acting a bit weird lately ever since VidCon. I found VidCon a bit more interesting than the rest of you because, well, just the fact that I don't know how many of you saw John Owen, but one thing that I noticed from his videos of her, whenever she did go to panels, I mean, one of the whole thing was how you couldn't really interact with her. Well, that was actually true at panels too. She'd actually ask you to write your questions down, and then she'd screen them to see if she'd answer them. But VidCon, completely different. She actually had open mic, and I thought, interesting. It's almost as if you want all these assholes that you know are going to VidCon to suddenly talk to you.
Well, because she
Possibly
kind of figured
I-
out. That's where her success came from.
Exactly.
I have a question. Like, who actually cares about Anita Sarkeesian?
Hmm.
I need Sarkeesian.
Define
mildly.
care.
Yeah. So that's one. I mean, that's fair.
I
You
would say
should want to care about
define
yourself.
care
That's
by
reasonable.
interested in what she has to say.
Right.
And
Okay, so-
I repeat my answer again. Anita Sarkeesian.
But it does
if it's
still
defined
kind of
by that. Nope.
but it does still kind of just fascinate me. I mean, even the way she's been going off on social media, she's kind of people have been saying how she's threatening developers, which is semi-true. But I do think there is a lot of that about a lost hurrah sort of thing.
Yeah, but let's be fair. If you want to boost if you're about to release a game, how do you boost your game's notoriety?
Controversy.
Precisely. So, who's the best person to make it in the controversy stakes? Anita.
Mm. Yeah, but still, she was always a lot more.
She's there to be used.
She was always a lot more clever than this, though. She would never really outright directly criticize them. There was something John Owen said. She would respond by proxy rather than responding for criticism. She just wait for someone else to make a response and then retweet that. But
And then jump on the bandwagon.
well, no, she would never
But the
really
thing-
actively.
I mean, don't forget, we're talking about a female who has, a person who has a huge following.
not
Whereas-
anymore.
But yeah, she does have like her or dislike her, she is followed
Hmm.
for both reasons. Because A, people like her, and B, people don't like her. So when if you want to get something, if you want to basically make something, you give it to her to discuss.
Well, no, it
She
wasn't
then has all her naysayers and yaysayers, and you've instantly got there's 2 million more people who wouldn't have paid any interest in your game. All of a sudden, go, "Ooh, what?
Oh no, it wasn't that way around. What happened was she tweeted to CD Projekt saying, "Hey, something along the lines of, hey CD Projekt, since you have a history of sexism in your video games, why don't you hire me to correct you?" Something along those lines, which they completely ignored her. But
Yeah, but They've managed
I've tried
to.
that pitch.
She's
Generally works
tweeted,
better done in
therefore you've
private.
increased your viewing. You've.
Hi.
She's.
Oh, Max.
Good evening,
Fuck.
Max. How are you?
I don't know. Google really pissed me off. I was trying to get the link, and it was taking me to the fucking app store, even though I have the app. And and then he was asking me to download the app, and then he wouldn't allow me to download it, and I just couldn't get in. So it was just really weird.
How's your
The
mum?
wild Magda.
Not that wild. That's just normal. Fucking hell.
Hey, Pud.
Yes, but it depends on your definition of normal.
I
Well.
put Maggie. I put the Christmas lights, the USB Christmas lights in the tent. They're perfect.
Oh, did you get them?
Yeah. There's enough there
Aw.
to light the whole tent up nicely, and then there's enough there for like a little line across the outside for outside as well,
Oh, that's
which is
cute.
nice. It looks
Nice.
very pretty too. You'll like it. I should take you a picture,
Good.
really, shouldn't I?
Yes, you should.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we're going to this massive music festival. Robin's gonna be doing some video there, and I'm gonna be doing some dancing for money. It's really dancing, but it's like creative.
She's going to be on
not
top
really
of a podium,
Yeah.
dancing.
Well-
Yeah, Robin talked about that, something called Boomtown.
Yeah, this festival, they actually posted picture of Izzy and I, Robin, because we were performing there last year. Kind of like simple stuff. Well, I mean, there's like 70 fucking thousand people, and so many people like performing and doing stuff. And we're kind of just, there's nothing major. We're just there, part of the like making the vibe. And I've spent like a month making these costumes, like this recycled costumes from bedsheet. Like at the end, I was fucking crying. I'm like, why am I making such an effort? And you know what? At the end, out of all these people, they took pictures of us and they fished me out. I ended up on the cover poster and like being an advert for the whole festival. And recently they also posted the pictures of us like being there as like it's so surreal. I mean, cool.
She's a star.
I don't know. The place still sounds like hell to me.
Like hell.
It's
Yeah,
very
that
noisy
was-
and colourful and flashing lights and fire and brimstone
And people.
and
Yeah,
loads
that's
and loads of
actually
people.
my idea of hell.
If that's hell, then I want to go to hell. I've already been, so I know what I'm not gonna be missing. Or
I wish I
miss-
had a drone. I really do.
Yeah, but I don't think they allow drones there, Robin. I don't think you can just so many people. You would need a
Yeah.
license, and you would need like a proper.
Well, yeah,
in there.
what they'd have is a drone license for the area, wouldn't they? And you just sign into that.
I don't know.
You need licenses for drones these days?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, because like it's somebody could get pissed off that you're filming them.
Well, you could
Imagine
be.
you do in a city somewhere. And,
You
I
could be
mean,
near
I'm-
an airport,
Yeah.
Don't need a license for a drone around here, but
Pascal
you better be
is
careful
back.
where you fly it.
I was,
Yeah, exactly. Because they're gonna
Maybe
shoot
I'm-
it down.
maybe I'm wrong, but I was sure there was some sort of more scaled down kids versions of drones, drones sold to kids and somewhere. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
but
wrong.
they don't last long.
Yeah, but is the kid is not gonna go in the crowd somewhere in the middle of a city and fly it? Come on.
I mean, most of them
You
only
gotta-
last about 20 minutes or so. So you need to do. If you're going to do anything, you've got to be. You can't be doing it for very
I
long.
mean, okay, and also, yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, if you're going somewhere like you did a film with some people, Robin, and they were doing it like central-ish area, maybe not that there are some security people walking around. They used it just like that, haven't okayed the location or whatever. It was fine, but in case somebody were to turn up, I'm not saying they arrest you, but they would tell you off. But if you go into an event like this, where there is thousands of people standing, and then somebody's gonna start flying a drone, or if you, I don't know, probably will clamp down on you. So
So, that's a no to a drone then. Oh.
I mean, you have to check. Ask the guy.
Well,
You're in
it
a
is.
group,
It
they
is
would
part.
know.
It is part of the set. That's what I need to do next, really.
So we've talked
but-
drones. Pascal, what's on the list next?
What's on the agenda?
Oh, okay. I'm doing LED hula hoops, and yeah.
That's what's on the list.
There you go.
Maybe they're doing hula hoops.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm getting better and better. This one thing which I only have two, but me and my dad actually cut the hoops, trimmed them because they're a bit too wide. So the ones I have, Robin, this is like a different pipe. It's a polypro type pipe, and I can actually hoop on my legs and my body with it, which was
Mm.
difficult with the other ones. So now,
Are you swaying your hips in a sexy way while you do it?
well, It's not really about that. But do you know what? Do you know what's weird?
It
I don't
is
know if you
about
guys.
that.
But when you're learning like a skill, kind of like physical skill, it's like even after a while you know how to do it. You try it and it just doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and then it maybe works later, but badly, and then you leave it. Like I left it for like a couple of weeks. I come back to it and I can do it. Something that I just couldn't. That's
Wham,
an
bam.
interesting.
Thank you, ma'am.
So you can't do you can't do all nighter with stuff like this, you know? Like you stay up all night and you're like, yeah, I'll get it, and then it doesn't work. But muscle memory and persistence and just, sleeping on it, etc.
Perseverance beats talent
Of course.
every time.
Well, yes, but also sometimes it does do you good to walk away from an issue and then go back to it because you reapproach the
Sleep on it.
problem.
Yeah, but that's when you work with that's with a thought in your mind. But here I always found it almost kind of like flabbergasting because I haven't thought about it. I mean, obviously my muscles maybe got used to it, but I come back and it works now, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't done anything different, I haven't done it.
Just saying, what you're saying is, with perseverance, Drew will be able to drive.
I'm
solution to most problems like that.
I'm not
is just to
driving.
bang my
If
head
it's a
against the wall.
self-driving car, I'm not driving. I'm being driven. It's not
Yeah.
the same thing.
Some
Exactly,
people are
but
meant to
also-
drive. Some people are meant to be driven.
Also, because of his, his sight issues, I'm sure he can drive. Just don't go in a field somewhere where there is absolutely nothing you can drive
Yeah, I
into.
actually have driven a vehicle. You can
There you
say
go.
you can say disability, by the way. It's okay.
I
I
don't-
disability myself, but yes, I have driven. So
I
Okay,
Also
I was about to say
able.
blind, but I don't know what level of blindness do you have. I wasn't about to say disability.
Sorry, the fact that you actually have
disability and or blindness, fine.
you have driven.
Reconfigured.
You have driven. That's
Yeah.
genuinely fascinating.
Well, are you
That's going
actually?
to be the
are
new
you
PC
actually,
term. That is.
Are you actually fully blind, or is it you can see a little bit, or what's the situation?
It's close enough, like legally blind, so I can't I can see some like color and shape. Well,
Mm.
not really shape, but some like impression of stuff. I think they took the test and it was the acuity test was like 3200 or something like that, which is like way over the legal limit.
Oh,
So yeah, I can't read even with
Oh, yeah.
magnification. So,
am-
but yeah, I've gotten any vehicle and driven around a parking lot with
My mother's-
supervision.
I'm pretty sure he's still safer driving than me.
See, I've got a license, and that's as
Well, you're
well
a
as
dog.
I can drive now on a
Yeah.
parking lot in
I
the
don't-
vehicle.
I'm
Does it
pretty sure
blind-
they wouldn't give me a license. Although I was really because I wanted a learner's permit so that I could be like the designated driver. If everyone else is drinking, then it would be the legal. I would have to be the one to drive. But of course, they need the fucking visual test. Those ableist
Yeah.
bastards.
Well, okay, let me tell you something. It was in a particular country in somewhere, and it was years ago, so whatever. And I have a license for like no limit on it, which is great too. However, I'm short-sighted, but not that much, just a tiny bit. Now it's a little bit worse. And when we had the test, I remember I was like at college or something. You could actually get a license at the time when you were 17, so below 18. And we had like an eye test and like balance and like a really basic one. But at the time, I wore contact lenses. They didn't fucking know. I didn't tell them I was short-sighted, because if they knew I had glasses, they would give you one. You have to go and have a check every now and again and renew your license. So I just wore contact lenses, and I could have been fucking really badly short-sighted or whatever. I did the test and they didn't really. So there you go. I lied.
With
Oh.
the topic
It
of
worked.
blindness, with
Yeah.
blindness, interestingly,
My
I've
love is
actually
a
been
liar.
told I should actually get. I'm at that age now. I should get my eyes tested regularly because I have what my mother has called coma, and
I think they
that's
make you read
hereditary.
some letters off of a board to determine driving tests over here. So that wouldn't. I don't think I could. I still couldn't get.
Well,
a
yeah,
learner's
but
permit.
this is a little different. You're not like, obviously I was just a bit short-sighted, so that could have been, I could have hidden it. Yeah, I don't think you.
I look pretty blind, so that's an
Excuse
issue.
me,
I
sir.
could-
Walk over here, and you. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
I think that once people reach, I'd say probably about 65, they should have to take a mandatory test every 5 or so years, just to ensure that the road's safe, because the majority of accidents
Well,
can be prevented or caused by old people.
No, the
Well, there you
majority
go,
of
Robert,
accidents,
wait.
the majority of accidents are caused by people who've just passed their test.
No.
Do you have the
You're young enough.
statistics?
As
Nope.
young, afraid
Nope.
so.
Okay,
Nope,
okay.
sorry.
Robin has a.
Old people.
Robin, are you? Robin, are you there?
Yes.
Robin had a better idea of who should be allowed or not allowed to drive. Tell them. They might heard about it already, but do you remember?
Oh, well, I think that we should increase the age limit to 65.
Why?
Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of jobs that retirees might need. Taxi driver, lorry driver. Just got to sit down and do the job. That seems sensible enough, you know.
Have you seen? Did you?
He hasn't finished the joke yet. Shut up.
No, I
Fox.
can't be asked. I'm too tired. I'm really
Drew,
knackered at the moment.
Hey, Drew, out of curiosity, how did you go blind?
I was born that way.
Oh, it was literally by birth.
Feeble
Yeah.
excuse.
So we couldn't
Right.
blame you.
Yeah,
Well, you
no,
thought
I
it was
blame
like
God.
it was like nurture, like he was taught to be blind
Yeah.
by the media.
That's what happened. His mother
Like I
raised
said,
him
I've been
blind.
told I should get tested potentially for glaucoma, and that just makes me worry about the fact that you can now literally I go blind, go blurred.
Drew,
well,
Drew,
I mean,
that's what you should say to them when
as
they
long
go,
as
Are
you
you,
don't
were you born
fiercely-
blind? You go, no, my mother raised me this way.
No, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
the
really a
two
nature
things
versus
that
nurture argument. I think at the end of the day.
Stop talking over everybody.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm in
Yeah,
charge here.
Yeah, jerk.
And good evening,
Oh god,
Habib.
no, don't do this. I'm gonna leave if they happen.
There's
It
too
gives me
many
a
people
fucking
in the
headache.
house now. Habib, how you doing,
sorry.
mate? What you up to?
I'm just doing great. Playing City Skylines actually. And it's,
That's why I can't get hold of you.
Yeah,
God, just-
I heard that half of Dubai was on fire because it's 68 degrees outside.
it's not 68 degrees now.
Well, now, but during the day.
Well,
Maybe during
68
the
what?
day.
It's 98, but who cares? Yeah.
68, that's would be pretty. I don't know if you can even fucking stand it. You must...
Magda, it's quite warm.
Is that in centigrade? Please let that be in,
Yeah,
in
that's-
Fahrenheit.
That's
Yeah.
so insane.
That's
No,
centigrade.
It like the max for the past few days has been like in the mid 40s, but
Yeah, that's
it,
fucking hot enough, isn't it?
like no, it gets to the 50s in mid July and August. Like it gets to the 50s.
Isn't
So-
that hot enough to just kill you?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's caused.
Yeah, I don't think he
100
would be even living in 68. He would
It's-
probably
it's
be completely
caused-
sealed.
It's
in
caused
those-
100 deaths so far in India, just this summer. And
The sun hits
people,
you like an anvil.
They walk across roads like in the asphalt, and their sandals get stuck because the asphalt is literally melting.
Mm.
So we're getting pretty close to that point where everybody's been talking about where the Middle East and a whole bunch of other places are just going to empty out because they can't live there no more.
Yeah.
The
Well,
world is
yeah.
on fire.
Let me just put it to you this way. It's been getting
you,
to the
Pet
point
Fruit.
where the hottest it's been here was in the early 90s after the first Gulf War. Well, the second Gulf War. The first Gulf War was the one with Iran. And that was because Saddam decided to spill all the Kuwaiti oil tankers into the Gulf. And that was the only way we could cool off a little bit here. That drove the temperatures to the 60s. And now year in and year out, we're getting closer and closer to that. Back then, yes, I mean the description that Pascal just gave with people having their shoes melt at the street, it wasn't just sandals. They were like heavy duty cat boots that would melt on the asphalt on those temperatures. It was just, it wasn't pretty. And now we're getting to that point. It's slowly getting there, but every year, just a couple of degrees. And yeah, give it a few years.
Let's talk about more interesting stuff. Pascal, what did you get from the store?
Wow. I'm falling asleep now.
Not
Did you,
spoken yet. That's unfair.
did you know? You can actually have like people requesting to be friends with you on YouTube? Is that what they're going for now? Or
Yeah, it's been a thing for a while, and I have no idea why. Like,
I know, because you can like follow channel. I mean,
I'm
you
friends
know,
with like one
subscribe or-
person on that, so it's not really, lifting off,
Is there
let's say.
Is there someone here called Fragile Creatures?
Fragile creatures. I don't know.
I don't know who that
no
person is.
idea, Max.
It's ever since he shaved
Requesting,
his beard off.
requesting friends. Wow.
Yep.
How desperate are you for attention?
Well, I guess, yeah. I've looked
You
at it at
actually
least, so they have
need-
a couple of views, no?
You actually need people in your life.
Yeah. Keep that hatred. Keep it. Keep it in the
Also,
pit
I
of your
will,
stomach.
man. I will.
If I'm if I'm in the Hangout now with you guys through an Android app, I can't see the chat, right? Only
No,
our
you
chat, but I
can't.
can't see the public chat.
No, you'd have to split screen with the YouTube channel.
No,
Like
but I
I
can
do.
Hangout. Hangout can be minimized, and I can still use it, so I can use
Yeah.
YouTube. But this.
Yeah, that should do.
Sophie's gone to bed.
Night,
Oh.
night, Sophie. She actually said that a while ago.
No, Sophie. She'll watch it back.
She said she was doing coloring in her book.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
And
our
she's-
resident artist.
And she spelled color with a U.
That's because she knows what she's doing.
She's Dutch. She can't help it.
Ah,
That is interesting.
They don't know better.
That from the man who shaved his beard off just to get more likes.
Should I get a gimbal?
who is that? Who shaved his beard to get more likes?
Why get a Kindle?
Gimbal.
Kindle, Robin, you don't. Why?
Gimbal.
What
That's
kind
like-
of what kind of gimbal are you looking at?
All
gimbal.
of them right now.
There are
And they're
people
all
on the
ridiculous.
internet who will burn their nipples for more likes.
So for
I mean,
those at home wondering what a gimbal is, have you ever seen Aliens?
Yes.
You know
I've
the huge gun, the cannon that
Yeah.
they're carrying? That's basically
Yes.
a gimbal. It's a repurposed gimbal. It's so you can essentially hold cameras.
I was gonna
in-
say not the weapon, but the thing
No,
it's
it's
on.
a hinge.
Yeah.
It's a type of hinge that basically always points down so that you can, no matter what angle it's at, it'll always find level.
You could have always just told us to Google it.
I'd rather not like tell people to Google stuff if they're like tuning in and they can just as easily hear the explanation from me.
Well, if you're doing it live on a show like this, then you might as well explain. Otherwise, it's a bit shit.
Yeah.
However, in reality, it depends.
Motherfucker.
Depends
think-
what it is.
I think Bakura's just mad that we stopped talking about feminist frequency, and we should all start talking about that again.
No.
I'd rather not.
I've said my
Well,
piece on that.
Let's give them more publicity.
No, no,
No,
let him
no.
have his moment.
No, I actually
No,
I've said all I wanted
no.
to say on that. That's all fine.
No, it's fine.
How about we segue to what everybody's having for dinner? That
Okay,
seems
can
like
I-
an interesting
can I-
conversation to have.
But
I can tell you what I had for dinner, but before that, you know, I actually witnessed something really funny yesterday. I was in Poland and we're on a train, and the train was fucking packed, full of people, kind of rush hour thing, and then one seat freed, and no one is going for that seat. It's just empty. And I was there with my dad. He's like, "Oh, just go and sit." And I'm like, "Well, you sit." And he's like, "No, I'm all right." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I'm going to the seat, and then this dude is looking at me in a really weird way. But this dude is looking at me and suddenly says, "Oi, well, there's a pregnant woman behind you. Why are you sitting down? You can't see." And I'm like, "Well, I can't see behind me. I don't have eyes on the back of my head. But thank you, thank you for informing me." I'm looking back, and there's quite a large lady there. Pretty big. Her legs were massive. I mean, she was just some fat woman, whatever. And then she doesn't look pregnant, but whatever. And I'm like, "Well, why don't you ask this woman to sit down?" And she's like, "I'm not pregnant. I don't want to sit down." And the guy's, "No, but you look pregnant. You're pregnant." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "But you are." And I'm like, "The fuck is going on?"
To the point.
So,
Why
so
didn't
this guy,
Why didn't the bloke give up his seat to the so-called
but he
pregnant
was
lady?
standing. He was
Okay.
standing.
Oh, fair enough.
The point is, but when I was going towards the seat, he was kind of like wedging his leg there. So from what I've gathered, he was probably trying to sit down. So before I actually sat down even, because I can see, I'm like, he's going there and he's kind of looking at me. So I'm like, "What, are you trying to sit down?" Because if he did, fuck it. I mean, I don't care. You know, I wouldn't be like, yeah, but he's like, "No." And then he started talking about the pregnant woman. He's telling me off. And like everyone, it was silent. Suddenly everyone is looking. And then I'm like, at the end, I said, "Okay, mate, are you sitting down?" He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Do you know what? I'm going to sit down. If anybody is in any trouble, needs help, or really needs a seat, please ask me. I will give up my seat for you. Is that okay? Is that fair enough? The guy just turned into a fucking beetroot. He was so red. Turned around and nothing. I felt really good, you know? I was hoping somebody was going to clap, but that wasn't. I don't know.
And everybody clapped.
No one did. But,
No.
but that's not the point. The point is I usually wouldn't like comment, but you know what? The guy was a cunt.
Whoa, this is a family show, Mag. I'd like to apologise for the swearing.
Yep.
I don't
As
think
for-
it's-
Whoa.
Family fucking show here. Jeez.
To be honest, mate, you didn't get a clap. We're British. I think we only ever really clap for people with English
Actually,
accents.
come on, let's give her a
was in
proper clap now.
Holland,
Let's
if
proper
you were
golf clap.
listening.
Let's do this.
No, it's just it was a really weird. I had a really weird day yesterday because like that's one only. There was so many other situations. I'm like, if it was anywhere else, why would people be so petty and stupid? I don't know. Okay, another story. So we were like, we're in Warsaw with my dad, and we had to go to where my parents live, and it's probably like about 2 hours, bus, coach, whatever journey, and yeah. So we're like, there's this mini bus that goes there, and then we're like, all right, we're there probably like an hour earlier, you know, went to a shop, bought some shit, whatever, 10 back at the stop, and it's like 10 minutes before he's supposed to leave, yeah? There's a timetable and everything. And then we're seeing this minibus like driving off. So I'm like waving at the guy. My dad is running towards this little bus, yeah? And he's like, he was driving so slowly. So he's like knocking at the window. The guy looked at him, looked at me, started laughing and drove off. This is the driver, right? And I'm like, what the hell? This is a service they're providing, right? I mean, anywhere else, it probably would be not. Anyway, so we're like, what the hell? That's really ridiculous. And another minibus would have been in 3 hours. It was just about to start to rain, so we're like really mad. I'm like, that's really shit. You know what? I'm saying to my, do you know what? Let's fucking call this company and like actually complain about this because I think that's absurd. You know, the guy just couldn't be asked to wait and drove off. So we're calling them, and the dude on the phone starts accusing us of lying.
Whoa.
That we're not. I'm like, what sort of customer service is that? But also, this is not somebody being ridiculous. This is like, he's like, well, you lying. How dare you calling me and saying that my driver? I'm like, mate, what's the time? And it was even before the time that bus supposed to drive off. The guy just fucked off early, and then he was just accusing us of lying. What the hell?
Mean.
I just think it's like, I'm like, really? I don't know.
People is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still weird. From what I've noticed, like in Poland, in quite a lot of places still, they treat you like, you know, when they sell you a service, they treat you like they give you a massive favor by allowing you to pay for their service.
I bestow upon you my can of Pepsi.
Yeah.
Give me €2.
Other colas are available.
I mean, and there are some places that, of course, they just say, oh, you know, you okay? You know, like the really absurd types where I'm sure you guys seen that, you know, they run to you and they just, oh my God, you know, we do everything for you. And it's like, no, just fucking leave me alone. And I just browse. But yeah, but that kind of thing, I was just like, that is so weird. I don't know.
Yeah, like the other day, I wanted to buy just a little thing. I wanted to buy a toaster. I went to the supermarket.
That's little.
And they wouldn't leave me alone.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm just browsing, and it's like, he kept following me, like,
Go
this
away.
one's pretty good, and that one's pretty good. I'm like, I know that's pretty good. I just want to check it out. Go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
I ended up
Yeah.
just getting the model that I liked, going back home and ordered it online because I didn't want to deal with those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine.
sometimes customer service is a bit too clingy. It's like, can I have 2 minutes to myself, please?
Like, I get that they are relying on commission for their pay, but
But they're not
give me a
gonna sell
break.
anything this way, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
stop pestering the customer. You know, just
Yeah. We don't
But
want to
you
talk
know-
to anyone.
But I think the worst was because I worked in like retail in customer service, and I was a manager in a couple of places as well. And the problem is, the quotas that they would give you, that was in the UK, so I don't know in other places. You'd be like, they obviously, not even work on commission, because like in retail, we had to make certain number of sales, and who had like the most sales or whatever and most money would get a fucking brownie point, yay at the end of the day and a thank you. And I'm like, what? The salary was shit. It was like a basic salary. Obviously, if you're a manager, maybe you get a bonus, but that was so rare because they will ramp up the target so high. However, like before I was actually a manager, the person that was a manager in this place, seriously, they would be literally standing behind your back and watching you. So I had so many customers that I knew when to leave people alone. You know when to leave them alone, right? And even if you go away, say, how you doing? And somebody's like, yeah, I'm all right. you know when to leave people alone. But this fucking bitch, she'll be standing there and she'll be like, she's poking you on the back. And like, you go and talk to this person. I'm like, I just did. They told me to fuck off. And they're like, no, you have to. So like... It was real. I know, and we had some people walking out. With some people, I actually had people sometimes coming in when that person wasn't there. They were, oh, you know what, like, I prefer to come in when you're here because, like, sometimes I just want to have a look, think about it. And then the other people are just literally pestering me. And I'm like, well, I know.
Yeah, it happens.
It's a balance, though, isn't it? But work in a place like that, oh my God. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, I worked retail before, and it's hell. It's fucking hell. It is
hell, and it's really boring. It's like, oh my God. So when I work in the shoe shop, I actually loved working in the stockroom. You would just be like scanning boxes, moving shit around, because at least it's physically, you're actually doing something. Time would pass, but on the shop floor, it's so bad. Ugh. And I worked in one place where, they had a rule. Okay, nobody was enforcing that because it was absurd. Apart from one person, because of course, eventually some people are bored. We had a shop. It was like probably about 4 meters wide and maybe about like 8 meters long. So it was a long rectangle, maybe a bit longer than 8. And in the job description, it said that if you have to walk in a figure of 8. You can't just walk up and down. You have to walk in a figure of 8. And then when I remember I even went for an interview and they gave me this job description, we were talking about it or something, and I was like, that is really ridiculous. And the woman, we started laughing. Now, the manager at the time left, the new manager turned up, and that woman was telling you off if you didn't walk in a figure of 8.
Huh.
Obviously, her job was very interesting, isn't it? She had so much to do, but...
Kill me.
That's weird.
Moral of the story is buy online.
Yeah, now that was a few years back where
Yeah, I just buy my shit online these days. I don't care for.
Oh no, I hate shopping
retail.
too. I always hate it. But it's just sometimes there are certain things that I would actually want to go and actually try out. Do you know what I mean? Or like that's rare, but I would. And yeah, and a lot of the time those products are not even in the shops. There is no shops. You just have to buy online.
No, the last thing I remember buying retail is the pair of headsets that I'm using now because I wanted to test them out. It's quite an event, quite a thing. Also, I wanted to buy a cleaver, a Damascus steel cleaver, but I checked out the one that I wanted. I checked the price, and I was like, "No, that's a little bit above my budget. I can't afford it."
Did you go for the ceramic cleaver in the end?
No. The ceramic cleaver has a flaw. Like, I had a few people recommend it to me, but it turns out that even though you don't have to sharpen it, once it scratches or cracks, it's gone. There's no fixing it.
Yeah.
It just shatters.
Yeah.
I mean, I did find it. I mean, obviously, you can tell I assiduously view your Twitter feed. I did find it an interesting thought. I mean, personally, to me, it's always got to be steel because you can walk up to a brick wall and sharpen it there.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can sharpen it and you can abuse it. I mean, I use my cleaver not just for the veggies. I use it to cut meat. And the reason why I prefer a cleaver over a chef's knife is when you're cutting like a big chunk of mutton and you hit a bone, you don't have to just you don't have to just pull your knife and try to crack the bone or anything. Like what do you do with a chef knife? With a cleaver, just pull it up and smack it down.
Imagine what happens when you hit a bone in your own finger, though.
I mean, that's when you put your finger your severed finger in a lot of ice and run to the hospital. Be like, can you please attach it back?
Or if you like hack it and you just cut it off.
Well, at least if it's if you're using a decent blade, it's going to be a clean cut, and it's easier. I mean, speaking medically, it's easier to reattach a limb that's been clean cut than something that's been raggedly cut.
I don't remember if
used that
always
cleaver
use it.
before.
I know it sounds really sad, but always use a sharp knife.
I know that
I've
a few
never-
years ago, we actually had a situation in the UK of people going to hospital because of avocado-related injuries.
Okay.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, because
Yeah,
So do explain.
well, there was this cooking show, and apparently the way to get the seed or whatever out of the avocado, the stone, thank you, out of the avocado, is to cut the avocado in half, then hold the half with your hand, take the knife, and then the stone with the knife.
Right.
Out.
I can see how wrong that could go.
well, I mean, I don't want to sound funny, but I mean, I have removed avocado stones using that method, and it is very simple. How
Do
you
not do
can
this at
miss-
home.
Well, you need I know it sounds really funny, this, but use a sharp knife. Like I said, always use a sharp blade, and literally you just whack, and it sticks in the blade. A quarter twist, and as you quarter twist, lift, and out comes the stone.
No, I mean
There-
a
there-
cleaver is way more flexible when it comes to cutting veggies too. Like
Well,
I like how you just like chop everything in the chopping board and then scoop it with the blade because it's got so much of a surface. So yeah, you can scoop like 2 onions, throw it in a pan, just using that thing. It's
But
it's a nice tool.
The Chinese always use a cleaver, and the Chinese were to make if you do a nice cooking, the Chinese cooking style is fantastic, and they use cleavers. So I'm quite happy. I do have a cleaver. It's just a shit one.
Yeah, I mean mine is kind of shit now. I want to get like a very good one.
Mm.
But the Damascus steel ones, like the good ones, are like hundreds of dollars.
Well,
you can get something that's like $50, and it's quite okay.
That's
But
your problem, lad. Sheffield steel. Yorkshire.
no,
There we go.
I want Damascus steel, man. Damascus
Why?
steel.
Because he's an Arab.
Because it's just look at it. It looks so cool too.
It really does.
Send the link.
Oh sure, I can find a few pictures.
It's no, I mean, a cleaver is. It is possibly a more multi. You can do more with a cleaver than you can with a knife.
It's
Because-
still stupid to get the stone out of the avocado that way, holding with your hand. Although,
Yeah, that's just to show it off for idiots.
Well, no, because I mean, if you are, I mean, I'm not a chef. I don't personally like avocado that much, but
Yeah,
It
make
is
sure you
the
don't like
easiest-
avocados and just play with
it
it.
is the
Smear on
Maggie,
the wall.
Maggie, you're on a phone, so can you see if I'm screen sharing
I
or
can,
not?
I can see. No,
It is the
wait,
easiest way to get a stone out, love.
I haven't
wait.
screen shared yet.
No, I can see in the private chat. I can see that chat. Just I can't see the public chat on
Okay,
YouTube.
I mean-
But you know the internet. Oh yeah, I can see
Okay.
that.
It is
Whoa.
the easiest way to get
That's a
stone
Damascus
out.
steel one.
Yeah, but when other people are talking, you're disappearing immediately, and even breaths and stuff. so-
Oh, okay. Well, I can just keep talking. Look at that thing. Just look at it.
Look at his thing.
Yeah, but it's bent.
Look
What-
at it.
So what are those? What are those lines on it? What is that?
Oh, that's some of the properties of Damascus steel. It looks like that once you forge it.
It's the
But is
tears
that
of the
like any-
virgins that they use to make the metal.
Is this a proper? Is it a functional property, or is it just purely visual?
No, it has a function. It adds more durability to it,
Okay.
and it's durable and light at the same time. Now, we don't really know that if this is the actual Damascus steel that was used historically, but it's the closest method that we got to that, because they describe them to be way lighter than regular swords. I'm talking like the ancient ones. And these ones are pretty good, and they're pretty impressive once you have someone who knows what they're doing with them. It's not just the aesthetic. You want actual Damascus steel.
It is
But-
quite similar to Toledo steel. Looking at it.
Yeah. Or wood steel. Wood steel is kind of the same method too. But yeah, I so
There's the old story going back in history. What's his name? Richard Lionheart met Al
Salahuddin.
Saladin.
Yeah.
And Saladin, had was it a cushion or a piece of silk that he cut with his blade?
No, the myth goes that he would throw a handkerchief in the air and wouldn't even swing his sword at it. As the handkerchief fell on the sword, it split in half. And, people just keep exaggerating it.
Sorry, I've got to go. My cat needs feeding.
Okay.
He's being noisy.
All right.
Take care.
Huh? Did he go?
But yeah, that's an
beating his
awesome
cat.
blade. That's an awesome blade. It, the complexity of all the shapes on it. It reminds me of, those Afghan rifles of like the 1700s, the Casillas. If you ever look at them and you look at the kind of intricate works they did on the barrels, it kind of reminds me of that.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, I'll go and find.
So,
Bob, are
Robin,
you
you've been
okay?
trying to get my attention for a couple of days.
No, I don't
show
want
off
to
your
talk to you
camera.
now. No, you had your chance.
He's
No, okay.
tired
I was
now.
going to show off my camera to you
fine,
and show
fine
you.
by me.
No. I got a telescope.
Oh yeah, did you come as well?
Yeah.
You can actually use it as a lens in the camera.
I haven't got that little bit yet. I'm waiting for the little ring to attach to the thing, and then I can. But soon.
Cool, yeah, you got lots of fun accessories.
That was the fun
take-
accessory.
Can you take pictures of what's being shown through the telescope?
Yeah, but because
That's
you
the
don't
plan,
use,
yeah.
it's not digital one, but you use it as a lens. He's gonna have like a converter or whatever. But yeah, you screw it into the fucking thing, so it's gonna be a lens of the camera. That is quite cool. So
That
you
is
can,
so
of course,
cool.
and video.
Abib, here's the picture of it.
Although I'm thinking about maybe just getting a telephoto lens because they're actually rather good. And
Yeah,
they're
but it's
quite
very
cheap.
expensive.
No.
think
You can get telephoto lenses quite cheaply, really.
But would it do the same as a telescope? Would it go zoom in as close? Or is that a not so good telescope that doesn't really?
Well, let's say
Huh?
it's not got any fancy electronics in it, and motors and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the more pertinent question is, where is the telescope being pointed at?
Your junk.
Right?
I
The
don't know why.
people.
We can literally see under the skin. You're a very unhealthy guy. I think you've been having too much milk. Or was it soy? I don't know.
Yeah, it was
Milk
soy.
or-
Soy.
Yeah, but then if he's like on the other side of the spectrum, you'll be milk, isn't it? Like these guys are like milkmen and the other one a soy man. So, are you a lefty or you're a righty? Which one are you?
Are you literally asking me?
Yes.
I'm right-handed, if that's what you mean.
So milk, okay. Yeah, you can see those milk spots just under the skin, and I don't know, there's a lot of oil. It seems to be kind of melting the milk spots, but not really, so I don't know. Okay, I don't. That's it, I stop. I don't know where to go with it. Anybody else want to pick it up?
No.
Well, I think
There
you're
you go.
doing fine, man.
I missed everything of that. What was that?
Yeah.
I left.
Well,
we were talking
Robin
about steel.
Robin has a telescope. I said I think the pertinent question is, where is the telescope pointing at? And she said, your junk.
And
Which
we
makes
were
all
checking
the
under
sense in
his
the world.
skin, so.
It's more a microscope than a telescope, but thanks a lot. I didn't realise there was so much interest in my junk.
Ugh. Thanks for that mental image.
Is everybody now feeling slightly nauseous? Is that little bit of sick?
Is that what you were after? Well done,
Stop
you
it.
nailed it.
You want
we
to
don't-
kick out? I'm sure you want to get rid of the last 7
Sean.
people that are in the that are actually
Yeah.
watching.
You're trying to get
Sean,
everybody to
I-
throw up a little in their mouth.
Sean, you have effectively talked about prostates now, Sean.
No, I didn't. Prostates is totally different.
Of course. Right. Well, hang on. We were talking about cameras. So go on, Robin. 'cause- Gotta be careful when I'm leading the conversation.
Mm.
When Fox asks what has he missed, do not ever, 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 ever catch him up. Okay?
But yeah, as far as the telephoto lens thing, there's sort of cheap sort of bits of kit for this. That's it's all metal made. They're quite sort of light and whatnot. They might be very handy to have.
What kind of lens are you looking at?
Telephoto lens.
Robin, will
Yeah,
you really use it? I
what
think
was-
for now,
T-mounts.
don't just spend money on
Yeah,
random things.
what's the focal length? Like you're talking like 70-200, over 300.
Yeah, something that I can do a really long distance shot from.
That could be anything. And also the ones that I've seen, they're at least £700, Robin, or more.
No,
Okay,
these are the T-mount ones.
I mean, Sigma has a cheap 70-300 one, but I don't recommend it. It's noisy as hell. It's light, it's nice, but it's a mess to shoot with. You can get pretty cheap ones. Now, the from what I tested with the range of lenses, I can just tell you this: if you're looking for something for a very specific reason, let's say I want to do this for shooting birds or for shooting sports events, and that's it. Like I want it to be zoomed at its max the entire time. Get a prime lens. Don't get a zoom lens. You just get something prime. 400 fixed. That's it. Rent it out for a couple of days. You'll get the best result. Don't ever bother with something that's like 70-200 unless you're shooting in a studio, because those lenses, as much as I love them, they're finicky as hell.
But he's talking about video as well. Are you doing photography?
I do need something that's
Yeah,
I don't mind.
get it. Like
I don't mind it being
70
fixed, you know.
70-200 is a nice middle ground, and you can extend it with an extender. And besides, like once the difference between the zoom, like the minimum and maximum focal length, is over 3, then you know that the lens is getting into like shaky ground when it comes to how well constructed it is and how much it's gonna hunt. So 70-200 is like on the edge. 70-300 is way beyond that, and there's like 100-400, which is like if you enjoy hunting for focus for like a whole 30 seconds, try that lens. You'll hate yourself.
Okay, can I change a bit of a change subject for a second? What do you guys think of this type of headlines? Because stop building a spaceship to Mars and just plant some damn trees.
Well, you can do
Because,
both.
you know,
We'll plant trees on Mars.
I planted trees, but
can we do more? Can we do both?
Here's the segue. Look, I planted trees. 5 trees were planted when I bought my my filter. Hello, Kraut.
Hey, Kraut.
There you go.
So I planted 5 trees.
Mate.
There you go.
Maggie?
No,
It was a bit
it's
more
John.
enthusiasm,
I'm
mate.
John. I'm from
Yeah.
Germany, actually. Although no, I don't speak any
mean the
German.
picture. I need to look at that picture. What the?
That is me, and that's me for real here.
Why?
Why
What do you
not?
mean,
I'm an
why?
artist, and I paint my medium is my face, mainly,
Okay.
and also why not?
Yeah.
Why'd you wear the Shedlord glasses?
every piece of art.
Get him,
has
Max,
a
get
meaning
him.
to it.
Huh?
Every piece of art has a meaning to it, doesn't it? What's the meaning behind it? I'm trying to figure it out myself. What I'm trying to say with it, but I can't figure out. What
Okay,
is it?
so you're saying it's shit art, or it's not art.
I'm not saying it's
he
shit
doesn't
art.
understand it.
I'm saying I don't understand it.
Okay, well then it's obviously not aimed at you.
Okay.
Maybe you need some more thought.
Take modern in a nutshell.
Watch
Take
more
someone a
Lord
bit
of the Rings.
smarter, with a little more brain cells to rub together.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's what you're trying to say.
Crowd, you have some kind of an issue with me. You seem to
No.
be
He's
quite a bit of
flirting
an
with
asshole
you.
usually, and you sound quite condescending. Like
This is how
every
he
time I
talks.
seem to
This is
talk
how
to you.
he talks to women.
That's just my voice. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I sometimes come
it's
across
his
as
misogyny coming through.
No, it's what you say, and like you did say a couple of things in the past
I
about me being Polish in a really weird way. I mean, not that I give a
honest to
shit. I just
God.
want to know because obviously, if you have some issues, then maybe we need to.
Honest to God, I just saw this picture. I was surprised. I wanted to know if there was anything behind it, like if it represented something or something like that. I had no intention whatsoever of offending you.
Okay. The brain cells things wasn't.
And by the way, I mock everyone over their nationality. That's just something I do.
Yeah, because he's German.
Why?
It's his
Is there
defense
any meaning
mechanism.
behind it, or is it just like that?
He's
No, he's
German.
German.
He lives in the Nazi
German.
country.
Sorry. No.
No, it's just a
He has to defend himself.
infantile, childish, fucking stupid thing to do.
Yeah, he's an
Can't
idiot,
talk
man.
about
Okay.
war.
Didn't you remember? He's an idiot.
I don't know. I just don't like people being assholes. That's all.
But it's Kraut. He's an idiot.
So. That's
Mate,
not
all right,
nice.
okay.
I think that's a bit unfair.
I think all you're doing really, Meg, is setting yourself up for disappointment. It's a mental health issue.
Anyway, how are you, Kraut? Calm, cool, collective?
Who wants to buy my
No.
bath water?
Fuck off.
Oh, God.
Did you hear about this,
Can I
Maggie?
buy you some bath water?
I mean,
As an alternative?
I just found it on Twitter, and I was just like, "What?" I'm glad that I took a break from Twitter for a few days.
Did you hear about this, Maggie?
I just assumed it was fake news.
What?
This girl was selling her bath water.
Well, if somebody was willing to buy it, then you know.
It's
Certainly
sold
was.
out.
It's sold out.
Not everything has to have a meaning behind it.
Oh, but it does have meaning. That's the problem.
Fool and his money.
Okay, hold on. Wait a second. How do you run out of bath water?
No, she put it out as a joke because someone on her chat, because she does like Twitch chats and stuff, and someone was like, "I'm gonna buy your bath water," so she bottled some bath water as a joke,
And somebody
and
bought
it
it.
sold out in hours. Like people
Oh.
just bought it, and she's like, "Well, time to make more money then."
Well,
Yes, I'm set for life.
Yeah.
didn't
Because-
somebody get ill because of they
Well-
decided to drink the bath water, or is that bit the fake?
That's just
I
a fake
assumed
thing.
The whole thing was a
To
fake story.
to be honest, it's probably the most useful piece of eCeleb merchandise that you can buy. It's definitely more useful than, say, an Armored Skeptic T-shirt, anything like that. I mean, you can at least drink it.
Hey,
I mean,
Why would you though?
It's
I mean,
nourishing.
well, why would you drink your piss in the desert if you run out of water?
Because, well, ultimately, because I mean, after a while, the urine becomes so concentrated and full of all the unpleasant stuff, you don't want to drink it. But initially,
So-
yes, it would work.
you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually considering of getting an Armored Skeptic T-shirt because the Canadian maple leaf with the little Armored Skeptic
It
dude,
was quite good.
Oh,
it's kind of clever.
It is.
I like it.
Sean, to answer your question about why would anyone drink bathwater, look, I once saw a documentary with Rupert Everett about sex workers. They had interviewed one woman who was a dominatrix, and one of the things she does is she puts poo in a box, mails it to customers, and
Poo's
tells them to
different.
spread it on toast
I
and
don't
many.
sound funny. Poo's
Yeah,
different.
it's an interesting group of
Poo
people.
is. Poo is.
How do we know that they're drinking?
I don't sound funny. Right. Let me explain something about urine. Urine is almost 99 times out. Well, put it this way: the only problem you will have drinking urine is if you have a urine infection.
We're talking about bathwater. here.
Feces is something different.
Yeah, but
See-
we're talking about bathwater.
I've come to,
No,
to
you were
somewhat-
talking about
But
feces.
it's
He's
bottled
talking about
bath
feces.
water.
Yeah,
The bacteria in the
I
bath
wanna-
water have
I
had
wanna-
time to reproduce and,
I wanna-
become something not nice.
I want to stop
Right.
talking about this useless shit and go,
Yeah, let's stop before it gets weird.
go,
Well,
back,
someone
go back
actually-
to the
Is there any
topic.
sort of disclaimer?
Go back to the topic that I was talking about in terms
Yeah.
of like Armored Skeptic. You know, one of the things that I started doing, and I came to sort of an epiphany in relation to this, is that if I'm going to judge people over a list of like all the dumb shit that they've done, and not sort of account the dumb shit that I've done over the course of my life, that's a little hypocritical because like I've done some pretty stupid stuff. Here's an example. this was after my mom passed away. My dad, not even a year later, and just to sort of break into that kind of an event, me, my brother, and my cousin decided to start playing golf. The thing was that we decided to do this in our backyard, and our backyard is facing essentially modern suburbia. So we kept on just driving balls until we heard the smash of glass. And then we went inside and the game was over. So yeah, you're gonna do some dumb shit in your lives, and people who decide to like learn from those mistakes and try to evolve a little bit, and that they're still not going to be perfect. I think those are human beings that they're worth still keeping around. You get into this habit of like doing this performative ethics work where it's like pointing the finger at everything bad, and I think you're training your brain to essentially devalue people and set a bar so high for individuals that they're never ever going to be able to reach it. And this is sort of something that I noticed with like the quote unquote SJW crowd. Like they want to nitpick every single little fucking thing. And sure, there are some valid points behind that, but at a certain point in time, it's just like give something up for somebody's consideration, and then just see if they grow. And if they don't, just give them some time. Give them
Language
some space.
policing is off-putting.
I'm just gonna clarify. I'm just gonna clarify this. Maybe, maybe I didn't tell you this before. I just hate everyone, every single YouTuber who sells merchandise T-shirts, because almost every single one of them is utterly worthless, talentless, uncreative, mundane garbage, just complete horseshit, just utter moronic stupidity. I like video, man.
That's really bad, actually,
Dude,
because tonight I was actually going to be launching our new T-shirt range.
There are people who have T-shirts of my YouTube
T-shirt, mate.
Dude, there are people who have T-shirts of my channel, but the thing is, I know most of them. Most of them contacted me and asked me if there is a way that I would sell merch like T-shirts, and I told them, hey, here is my avatar. How about you go take this and print it on a shirt yourself? You know, it only costs $10, $5 maybe, and you don't have to pay $50 to wear a fucking armor that some monk got out of googling armor. It's just ugh. But yeah, that's just me.
They're selling products, so they don't give a shit, right? I guess.
Well, I mean, they're allowed to, yeah, you can advertise it. It doesn't mean you have to buy it.
It's not that. It's just I mean, there's this one YouTuber.
If it's not black and plain coloured without any image on it, I'm not interested.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Me.
You hit it.
You
hit
I mean,
it.
I'm a golfer.
There's this one gaming YouTuber.
I'm not quite that suicidal.
Who sells these beautiful designed and drawn and painted artworks on T-shirts. I really can appreciate that. I can appreciate effort, but if you just paste some garbage, it's just nah. Screw you. You're just trying to make money by all means necessary.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've seen the T-shirt that Pascal was on about, and actually it was quite good. I mean, you've got the Canadian maple leaf and the centre of the because you've got with the maple leaf you've got basically three fronds, haven't you? But the centre one is the armoured skeptic helmet, and it doesn't look bad.
But that's an original design. He stole the fucking leaf and just dumped the helmet there.
Well, how much
is there a copyright on the leaf?
Well, no, it's a national. It's just a symbol.
I actually have to Google that.
It's worth
because there might be.
Probably not, because it's like a national.
He's going to Google it, put some glasses on it, and that'll be it.
No, I just remember there's someone
Canadian crowd.
someone in Germany sold fake North Korean sports shirts or something like that, and he got sued.
Yeah, but that's the
Who the hell would
that-
want that?
that's different because that's counterfeit. So that's obviously
Oh god.
And Maggie, just so you know, I am actually grumpier than usual because it's heat wave. It's.
Right.
Ugh.
I was
Not
expecting. I'm in Poland at the moment. I was expecting the heat wave here, but I fucking came back and the weather. It's just the day before I arrived. It turned into England. Ugh.
Lucky you.
It's just. I don't know. It's just cold.
I hate climate change.
Yeah. That'll stop it complaining.
It's fun. It's fun for all the family.
Did you know that there's a Egyptian mosquito species that you can now find in Italy, southern France, southern Germany, and Austria that wasn't there 20 years ago because of climate change?
Oh, you're telling me I've been bitten by that fuckers for years now. I hate them.
I'll take that as a yes then.
Say hello to dengue fever.
Well, I'm not gonna be saying who, but I was actually talking to people yesterday and today who think that climate change is a hoax and it's a big conspiracy.
Fuck 'em.
In real life, though, not online, and that's a little. I don't know.
Did you ask them why?
Because they don't think that they don't see evidence for CO2 creating kind of making the fucking planet absorbing heat or holding more heat. They just think that's not true. The science isn't there.
I was taught about this in school.
Yeah, but it was a British school, so it doesn't count.
Do you know what the Russian government's official position on climate change is?
Doesn't exist.
No, it's real. We don't care. It's cold up here.
Yeah, it's like, hey, more land to farm. That's
Guy
the
brings
idea.
in a fucking.
Let's be fair. I mean, that's the Trump idea. We have.
No, but the weird thing is, it's
air
not
and
just
water.
in Russia. It's like in the summer in fucking Siberia, it will be plus. They have insane heat in there, so it's only winters that are very cold. So it's just very extreme temperatures. I don't know. I mean, obviously, some areas it's constantly cold. They're just really dumb. At least they're saying they don't care.
Well, it's a dumb country with dumb people, so it's.
That's Russia, sorry.
Yeah, Russia.
I don't think they're a dumb country. They're just kept dumb.
Same thing.
I don't know, man. Have you seen those dash cam footage things you can find on YouTube sometimes?
Yeah, it's like, why do we give them cars?
Do you know why those are so popular in Russia, the dash cams?
Yes, because fake lawsuits. Sorry, fake lawsuits. People
Corruption. Because of cops at the roadsides demanding bribes, so they film the cops.
Yes, that's it. Thanks.
Robin, are you playing music through the app? Because it
Yes.
sounds really weird. Like it's for me, it's not playing, but when anybody talks, it's just like random snippets of the music, and it's really frustrating.
Oh, that's a problem.
That's always been the thing. But that's
Yeah, it
literally.
cuts out.
But that's literally only for the Hangouts. I'm on the stream.
I'm assuming it's just. Is that just a volume thing?
I don't know, it quiets when
yeah.
someone speaks, and
Yeah,
then
but
it
that
kind
does
of
that
goes
anyway.
back.
Yeah.
I mean, with regards to Russia, I still find it funny that, like, the people who complain about the EU trying to ban memes love Putin, whose country literally puts you in jail for putting up a meme of him or the church, his government, anyone he likes. Yeah.
It's a step forward, banning. Normally they just kill people.
Oh God! Just looking at Dara's comment, Ben Shapiro's answer to global warming: take off your jacket. Not joking. He said that.
Yeah, also his idea to rising levels to the people on the coast, just sell your house and move. It's like, yeah, how can you
Yeah,
sell
I
an
don't wanna-
underwater house, mate?
I don't want to sound ignorant of Ben Shapiro, but I watched him against Andrew Neil, and Andrew Neil isn't the greatest political giant in UK history, but he wiped the fucking floor with you, Ben.
Yeah. Ben,
Oh,
you're
well,
not as
you-
intelligent as you think you are.
He didn't even have to work for it. The guy just give it in, you know. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, it wasn't
was
as if
just-
Ben Shapiro, I don't know who you are.
so
sorry,
what?
I don't wanna
Because
say-
you
yeah, fine,
don't know.
Ben.
It doesn't. Yeah, I
Ben.
know. It's just
Ben, you're about to go on an interview on the British national television because you know you were. Because let's be fair,
But to be
BBC
honest,
are quite well known.
but to be honest,
throughout
most
the
of people
world.
in Britain don't bloody know who Ben Shapiro is. So
Well,
Exactly.
yeah,
I can.
but if you're going to, I mean, I've travelled quite a bit.
All right, this guy had enough
And
airtime. Do we have
I've-
to discuss
I've
him? I
known
mean,
that,
how did we arrive here?
I've managed to listen to the BBC
Because we haven't done the
in
house for a
many
while,
countries.
so
So for him not to know who the BBC is disingenuous to say the least. And if you're going to go on a BBC show and not even bother to find out who's interviewing you,
well,
then
yeah,
you're a twat.
utter
You deserve
laziness.
Ignorance,
regret.
ignorance is bliss, and you always look right if you
And
know.
he's
Yeah,
a
and someone
pretty
actually-
happy bloke.
Someone actually uploaded the clip to RedTube and they titled it BBC Destroys White Virgin.
I mean, even Ben Shapiro admitted, like on Twitter.
He
or
doesn't look
whatever,
very
that
white. He looks a bit more olive.
He got totally
Shapiro's
schooled by the
Jewish, what do you
guy. So
expect?
I
yeah.
was
It
thinking
would
at
be
the
neat if we
time,
did it
is it
in the
Stop
Easter?
talking over
I'd
each
love to do
other right now.
Yeah, I was just saying at the time, I thought, is this Easter? I've never seen a Jew crucified this badly.
Oh. But that's bad to
Mm.
compare him to Jesus,
Yeah,
putting
that-
aside at least that dude was preaching like, you know, forgiveness and
That joke gets you right in the
largeness of
sternum.
heart, and this one.
Speaking of religion, over the course of the last, so like since the war in Syria and since the rise of ISIS, the amount of religiously unaffiliated people, meaning agnostics and atheists, has risen in Lebanon by 43%.
Wow.
Wow.
So a side effect of the this ultimate culmination of Islamic radicalism seems to be that you will see an increased secularization of the population in many Muslim
That
countries.
will become problematical for those areas because you can only slaughter so many people before it does become problematical.
But the thing is, Lebanon has always been secular. It's always been secular. Like
True.
the only religious body that has any power over there is Hezbollah, and Hezbollah has political power, but next to no public support, especially in the cities. You go to Beirut, most people kind of hate him for what he did. He actually invaded their city back in the year 2000. So I don't think what's happening in Lebanon is unique. I mean, it's always been, like I said, it's always been secular since even the 80s. Their television was viewed as, the television station was viewed so scandalous that Hezbollah tried to destroy it. Like literally, they destroyed the building. They had like dating shows in the 90s on satellite TV, and they're like, in an Islamic country, how dare they? Like, that's Lebanon.
I'm gonna disagree with you on one thing because of the constitution and the framework of the state of the Lebanese Republic, which, for example, requires a Christian Catholic president and a Sunni prime minister and all that. I think that's bullshit. That's
power sharing.
No, it's tribal politics based, basically. enshrined
It's
in law.
basically trying to appease all the tribes because again, you have like the Sufis in there, you have the Christians, the Shias, the Sunnis, and they're all clamoring for powers. And you're talking about a time when the Saudis were trying to push the Sunnis power in there. You've got the Iranis trying to push Hezbollah and the Shia power in there, and you've got the Christians pushed by forgot who the previous guy from Erdogan was, but yeah, the Turks were trying to push their guy in, and they were like, you know what? Let's just have it in the constitution. Let's have this thing so we can guarantee each one of us a piece of the pie, and none of the other superpowers who are trying to influence us get it all. Now it's not
Maybe you
perfect.
Maybe you can answer me this: why the fuck are people interfering in Lebanon? It's just a small strip of land.
Because again, it's the Israeli conflict, and to be honest with you, like, I don't think the Hezbollah will just be satisfied with just freeing that land. They already freed most of it back in the year 2000. They had the big celebration and everything, and then there was a time for them to just dissolve the army or dissolve their militia and get involved with the army. And that's when they went rogue and attacked Beirut, because they dared to tell them that, hey, you have this rogue army, this rogue militia that's operating within our land. It's time for you to stop because the war is over. And now they're getting involved in Yemen, they're getting involved with Iran, they're getting involved in Syria, they're getting involved in Nigeria, they're getting involved everywhere as the
Who is?
Iranian militia.
Hezbollah. Is that what? Okay.
Yeah.
Hezbollah have been around for years.
I know. I just
Oh, yeah,
didn't hear about this.
They sound like a
they've been-
really good 80s band.
Dude,
You know?
actually, Batman. There was this Batman issue back in the 80s. I think 84, 83, where he went to Israel and fought with the IDF against Hezbollah. So yeah, he killed Lebanese people.
But ultimately, global warming will kill us all, and we'll know which religion was right after.
No, Ben Shapiro's answer to global warming is to sell your house to anybody and move out of the areas that are flooding.
I said
Put it
that,
on the market.
Robin.
Is he wrong? No. Is he talking shit?
No,
Yes.
is he wrong? Yes. I mean,
No,
who,
no, no,
who
what
are you
he's
going to
saying
sell your
is-
house to
is-
if it's the land is flooded?
Oh yeah.
Who's going to buy it? That's the.
No one's going to buy it. But is he wrong by saying it? No. Is he talking absolute
Yes,
bollocks?
he is wrong by
Yes.
saying it. This is the wrong thing to say. Everything about what he said was wrong in every way.
I'm also just gonna put out there because it's if there's any Americans listening. I read the reports of the Chinese government on their progress in combating climate change. In about 2009 and 2008, the Central Committee of the Communist Party in China decided that they actually had to do something about it because they feared that their people would depose them. In other words, that they would have a revolution if they didn't do something about the enormous environmental damage in their country. They undesertify. I don't know what the English word is. I read the report in German. So they make desert farmland 400,000 hectares a year.
Back in
They've
America.
driven
Chinese
the goat. Yeah.
Chinese government have done huge things with against global
Fox,
warming.
he was actually still
Plant-
talking. Can you let him finish? Because if he read something, then he's got
Plants-
some actual info rather than gossip.
Plant up to 2 million trees every year. And there's they're driving the Gobi Desert back. You know, the Gobi Desert was almost at Beijing 20 years ago. And they've driven it right back to where it belongs. And turned all the land back into arable farmland. And now turning land that used to be desert into farmland. And they're doing, the Yangtze River used to be one of the most toxic rivers in the world. And now it's almost completely clean. And they're putting the rest of the world to shame with what they're doing. They're actually successful. They're still the biggest polluter in the world, of course, because they're
But then they're the
largest
biggest
economy.
population, exactly.
Yeah, but they're actually doing something about
They
it.
are doing. I mean, they're doing huge amounts over in China. I mean, a darn sight more than a certain person across the water westwards who says we have the cleanest air and the cleanest water. That's it. You know, I mean,
That doofus.
he's so. If I was an American, I'd be embarrassed.
Speaking of China, what does everyone think's going to happen with Hong Kong at the moment?
Whatever the Chinese want. Basically.
Yeah, I've been worried about that too.
It's okay. I mean, at the moment, I think the UK government is slowly starting to realise that we have no say in what happens over there.
Well, no
You
shit.
don't say.
Yeah.
Well, no,
That's
we
news.
decided our. I think it was,
No, your contract ended. It's not like you decided to.
Jeremy
Oh,
Hunt-
now we're out of the goodness of heart. We're just gonna give it back.
Well, no, Jeremy Hunt decided to spout out last week that China should do this and do that and stop doing. And the Chinese government turned around and went, Fuck off,
No.
Tosser.
Fuck you, right back at you, yeah?
But it was rather interesting to see all these young protesters. I mean, when they stormed the Parliament building, they actually hung the British colonial Chinese flag.
Well, because
the colonial flag.
Yeah, that was slightly embarrassing.
I
wasn't
think
it?
no, but I think a lot of people there felt. I actually know quite a few people that when they did hand it back Hong Kong, like this girl that was studying with me, she just came from Hong Kong, and she said, for example, people would be flooding from China and buying up like baby formula for milk because in China they had absolutely no regulations about it, so they're putting all sorts of crap in there. Where in Hong Kong they had some, so. Like shops would be emptied, people would be just flooding the place and buying stuff out, and so it was quite interesting. And at the time they did have those
Scary.
protests. Yeah, it was scary. And then they had these protests at the time when it was handed back. Do you remember? I don't remember what exactly it was, but they had these protests where people were like,
1997.
not 97, it was
That's
well,
when it was handed back.
no,
Yes.
recent-
Yes.
Trust me.
well, but recently they fully left. That was quite recent. What was that
No,
about?
what happened was that in 1997 the British said, we're giving it back to you, but you have to leave them alone for 40 years. Ergo,
Okay.
they get 50. And the Chinese and Senate basically said, yeah, that 50, that's we can
That's
gloss
now
over
it's
that.
negotiable.
Yeah.
Okay, so formally it was done then, but actually in reality it happened. When was it? What, 2015? 14, maybe 14.
If I may add, it's not necessarily negotiable because the reason why the Chinese central government can't just roll in with tanks and take the place over is because Hong Kong is a testing site. It's the Chinese government wants to prove to the world that they would be capable of, taking over Taiwan and leaving Taiwan free.
Mm.
That's basically
Well,
why
that's
they're.
never going to I mean, the Taiwanese well, that actually could be quite interesting because Taiwan is...
It's more likely to declare independence, I know.
Well, they
Yeah.
have declared independence, except the Chinese...
No, not independence itself in terms of independent from China, but independent, not in terms of independence as an alternative Chinese government, but completely independent, like we are our own country, kind of independent.
Yeah, because right now, because Fox, right now the Taiwanese government is the previous government before Mao, and so they're claiming ownership of all of China, the mainland complete. They're a rump state.
Do you know that it's a completely fucked place? Not fucked. It's actually fucked is the wrong word. It's multicultural as hell. Taiwan was almost.
Right.
Taiwan. It's almost 60 years under Chinese occupation. It is very not Chinese, sorry, Japanese occupation. It's very Japanese in culture. You have a lot of mixed race people, like Chinese Japanese, which isn't really mixed if we're being honest. You have Vietnamese cuisine, Indonesian culture, also very far spread into it. It's a really mixed place, Taiwan. It could be independent. It's its own unique little thing.
Taiwan was where was it? Chiang Kai-shek?
Yeah, Chiang Kai-shek. That's where he retreated
That's
after
where
he
he
lost the
took it off
mainland.
to.
That's what
they consider themselves independent of China.
What happens is they claim to be the government of all of China, but the problem is the mainland China is run by the Communist Party, and they say no, you're a province of us. So it's basically two people claiming ownership of a piece of land. The problem is Taiwan is the guy living in the shack, and meanwhile Communist China has the big mansion, and yet they're claiming ownership of all of their, plot of land that they live on.
I have to open the window.
It's the weirdest sort of divorce kind of situation ever.
Taiwan is it is pretty tiny.
Well, it is. I mean,
even compared to the UK, it's fairly tiny. That's how small an island Taiwan is. It's a very small island off the coast. Yet, for them to claim that we own China, well,
they did.
10 out of 10 for being optimistic in your outlooks.
Well,
mate.
they used to up until the peasants decided, hey, this guy who's been known to killing a lot of people, let's follow him.
Oh, let's be honest. Mao Zedong slaughtered more people than anybody else in modern history. I mean, we're talking conservatively 60 million people slaughtered by him.
Most of them
And he
were
slaughtered
children.
his own children.
Yeah.
His own people. I mean, no one comes close to him when it comes to killing people. Not, I mean, you go, Hitler, 6-7 million. Peanuts.
That's just
Stalin,
Jews.
10 to
How many
12
other people died in the Second World War?
Seriously, but yes, but you're talking about a man who killed.
Do you know
the population?
Do you know who the first
dead.
people who the first people to die in a famine are?
Which famine?
People without food.
It's kids. No, it's children.
Okay.
The first people to die in a famine are always children.
Well,
Always.
yeah.
Because they need the most nutrition. And one of the most unknown facts about the Great Chinese Famine is that 70% of the victims were children. Like it sounds insane when you first hear it, but it's basically just like a famine in most other countries, but because China has such a large population, first people to die were children. You had an entire generation basically wiped out.
So I just googled about China, like Britain handing back Hong Kong or whatever, and then one of the searches comes up and he says China announces plans to hand over Hong Kong back to Britain by end of 2016. I think somebody must have searched for that, and now it just came up.
Yeah, but what happened was the Hong Kong government looked at what was happening with Brexit and went, "Nah, we'd rather stay Chinese." Actually,
Like,
we can do it better.
But yeah, the Taiwan, the country is actually called the Republic of China, which, you know, I mean, the history literally is we are a rump state and we claim ownership of the People's Republic of China.
So are they being occupied currently by China or?
No, they call themselves a republic because that's where the previous government of China, before Mao Zedong took over, fled to. It's sort of a government in exile sort of thing. It's a bit like when France fell, Charles de Gaulle moved to London and basically said, we are the rightful government. It's the same thing. Except they actually own a country.
But yeah, a lot of people from Hong Kong actually felt that, at least when Britain was in power, if you like, it was just life as not, they just could fucking live. But apparently now, there are all these rules and things really changed. So I guess hence why the hanging of the colonial flag.
because the Chinese Communist Party dislikes the whole idea of freedom. Because oh dear, if the people of Hong Kong are free, then the people on our side will go, can we have maybe another party that's not you guys?
Well, yeah, that would spread the ideas. That would be contagious.
It's a bit like why Putin keeps fucking over the democracy on his border. His people will get dangerous idea like maybe we should be able to criticize you, sir, because sometimes you fuck up.
It's almost as if, like, if you're memeing too close to socialism, you end up having to essentially become authoritative in your control of the population in order to meet those ends.
Well, anything that you try to enforce, and if it's not working out, or for fear of not working out, well, it only leads to authoritarianism, right? I mean...
This is why all you red rose wearing motherfuckers on Twitter that are LARPing and, you got it all figured out with Marx and that sort of shit, you're fucking deluding yourselves.
What, a rose wearing? Is that like a symbol of...
Yeah, the rose is a symbol of socialism.
Oh, okay.
In England, not everywhere else.
Oh, in Italy too.
Really? Didn't know that.
Oh, you said in England. I thought you said "and England."
No, it's the international symbol for socialism.
Hey, what about this comment from the chat? I thought parents would rather die than let their children starve.
I'm answering that at the moment.
Oh,
you don't get us saying that.
They can't feed their children if they're dead.
Yeah,
if they have a lot of children, the parents would die, then all the children would die, but it's just more children than the parents.
On that note, I recommend a film called Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah, I think the stupidest thing, like out of the whole, great leap forward idea Mao Zedong had was basically, hey peasants who basically produce all the food in the country, stop working on what you're doing, which is currently producing food, and waste your time trying to make iron in your backyard with mud furnaces. I'm like thinking, dude, they need to fucking grow the food. I know you're trying to beat Khrushchev in a sort of friendly competition, but this is fucking stupid.
No, Marx, like pretty much 90% of what he wrote and what he talked about was complete horseshit. What he got right was that capitalism leads to corruption. Full stop. Like, that's inevitable.
Yeah, but any system would, right? I mean, if it's pure, I don't know.
Correct. So what you need to do, and what Marx didn't account for, is you have to sort of
regulate it.
Exactly. And another thing he didn't really account for is like new markets development. Like this whole idea that an iPhone would suddenly materialize and create an economic boon for a country, where like in order to get an accurate representation of an economic status of like the entire world, they have to take Apple, the company, out of that equation. Because it just skews the numbers so much. It's so fucking powerful.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. Marxism was written in the 19th century. It doesn't, that's the problem. It's not like, oh, we need to do it this way. It's like, it's not 19th century anymore. You have to update. Otherwise, you're
Plus,
fucked.
I'm sure there might be some good ideas that perhaps, just need to think about them critically and what would potentially work. But to just like absorb the whole system.
It's called pragmatism. That's the problem. People who stick their fucking hand in the sand and go, no, our idea is utopian and we need to implement 100%. Anybody who doesn't like it needs to die. That's when you fuck up and you become a dictatorship.
So I mentioned that there's a mosquito species from North Africa that migrated to Central Europe due to climate change.
Right.
And a friend of mine apparently watching this DM'd me that since the last 10 years, it's not even possible to grow wine in Scotland. And that there is a first Scottish wine since 2015, which is...
You mean grapes for wine?
Yeah, grapes. You can have vineyards in Scotland and make wine in Scotland. The first Scottish wine is described as having a very strong cheese taste or as being barely drinkable.
Wow.
I don't want to sound funny, but the Romans, when they invaded Britain, planted grapevines.
It's a harsh review, isn't it?
Vineyards.
Yeah,
that was what, 2,000 years ago, so...
And we tried to wean you onto fucking wine, but you barbarians were drinking beer all the time.
I don't
yeah, I'm not a bit. I actually like beer. Wine, I don't know. It's alright.
Luca, beer existed in Italy at the same time.
Yeah, but it was considered barbarian.
It was just a way of making sure that water, which was so infected with everything you can parasitical and slaughteringly bad for human beings, could be consumed safely, was to basically turn it into alcohol.
Yeah, wine is just all fruit, so I don't know what you're glorying about.
I mean,
Here's
the worst
something
thing
you can do. You can try next time you wake up early in the morning. Just go outside and listen to the birds.
Pee on the flower and then smell it and potentially drink it. I don't know.
No. Like the birds that are here in my location now are not birds that were native to this area probably about like 10 years ago. There are turkey vultures that are now hanging out like in and around this area that are looking for animal corpses to consume. These were not seen in my city like ever. Now they're here, so it's happening. Everything's changing, and certain species that can't move out are dying off. Like there's a group of bats over in Australia, and what they normally would do is hang upside down and just sort of flap their wings and kind of like dip into the water. so they can just sort of cool themselves off. But even that is not enough. And there's like thousands of bat corpses that were littered everywhere.
Do you know why lobster is so cheap and why everyone is eating lobster?
No.
Really?
Because
I have not heard that.
Well, because they fucking love the warming waters. They're spreading like cockroaches all across the oceans because of climate change.
I haven't heard the lobster being cheap and everybody eating it.
Well, it's not cheaper, I think, but it's more. There's more lobster to go around now.
Mm.
For the UK, think of the almost extinction of the red squirrel. As the grey squirrel came over here and went, "Oh, this is nice," and I mean, don't.
But
get
that
me
was
wrong.
quite some time ago, right? I mean.
Yes, well, doesn't that just go to show how long this has been going on for?
We have raccoons in Germany because some rich morons thought they would be nice pets.
Yeah, so that's not necessarily climate change. That's just somebody traveling and bringing.
They can. The fact that they can now exist in, you know.
No, but the thing is, I'm actually hang on, but I am interested in some data as well, because now it's like anything that happens, any change or anything out of ordinary, everybody's climate change, and then there are people running around saying you are fucking moron, you have no idea what you're talking about. So where you know.
It's hard.
Well,
to
exactly,
determine because it has
exactly.
such a massive impact. We don't even know how much it will impact our lives. We just know it will have a massive impact.
Yeah, but in terms of the impact that we having, rather than, or at least the activity of humans, you know, and the civilization, rather than just naturally what would actually be changing, right?
I'm not looking forward to living in an Italian climate. That's all I'm going to say.
No, that's because you don't like Italians.
No, I just don't like, you know, if you live in Italy and you have the Italian climate, you can at least jump into the ocean. You have the nice Mediterranean winds. What the fuck do I get? I get fields, hot, dry fields with fucking Germans all over the place.
With the great
Dude, you live north.
young man.
You live north of Italy. You live north of Italy. Just drive south for a few miles, and there you go. You're in my country.
If you ever bump into somebody who's essentially,
I'm pretty sure the Germans are there because of climate change.
Who's essentially giving you flack, send them my way, because what I'm going to say is the following. We're heading for an extinction level event, and that's very simple because essentially you have the global warming that's currently happening, record-breaking temperatures across the globe, where the planet's basically on fucking fire. You have ocean acidification, which is making it harder for aquatic life to flourish. 50% of our oxygen supply, or 50+% of our oxygen supply comes from the oceans. We don't know what's going to be happening with that. The more hot it gets, the more CO2 the soil essentially releases into the atmosphere. And this happens usually whenever there's deforestation happens, which happens because we're essentially cutting down trees in order to make room for farms. UK, for example, is buying up farmland in various different developing countries, and so is the rest of the EU. What else? Oh, there's the sort of current extinction of various different animals that are happening on a daily basis, and this is disrupting the ecosystem to the point where everything's thrown out of whack. And
the most frustrating thing about it is it's so easy to do something about it. It would be so easy. It would be so easy to combat this situation, but nah, fuck it.
By 2050, you're gonna have a migration crisis that's gonna make Syria look like a fucking cakewalk.
Oh yeah,
to about the tune of 150 million. Is it 150 million? 150 to 250 million people are going to be migrating over. You need to shut up, please. Like, let me finish this fucking point. 150 to 250 million people are going to be essentially refugees, climate refugees, because right now the Middle East is burning. As we were talking about earlier, like 60 degrees and up. There's been 100 deaths this summer alone over in India.
I think Habib was going up to 50, not necessarily 60. But
these countries are also weaponized. They have nuclear weapons. So when their backs against the wall, those are going to
Which countries have nuclear weapons?
India.
Pakistan and India.
Okay.
So essentially,
And Israel, but shh.
one of the things that they could essentially say, it's like, look, we have a humanitarian crisis, and you're going to take these people in, whether you like it or not. And those kinds of ultimatums are going to be drawn in the sand. And people who don't comply, well, they're going to fight for it. And it's going to cause bloodshed, and there's going to be wars. You have insane amount of droughts, which is going to affect the croplands. You have right now our water supply is being taxed beyond replenishments all over the world. So yeah, this is a serious problem. So if people are not taking this problem seriously, they really need to wake the fuck up.
Yeah, but the point is that actually quite a lot of people are taking this problem seriously, like people like us, let's say. So, but the people in charge are not. They're not going to. From what I've noticed, it's not gonna they're not gonna do anything about it. Come on.
Well,
The government of the UK is going to do something about it. The current one, the shit that they throw us into. So I don't know. What can we actually do about it? Because just talking about, like this, it's not gonna lead anywhere.
You're right. One of the things that there was a discussion with Sam Cedar on a podcast called Startups, and he was saying during his days of political activism, what really has an impact is written letters that members receive, like your representatives. So if you write them a letter, you can send them a letter in post. It's not going to take too much of your time. You express your concerns, and they'll read it and they'll return to you. There's also showing up to these places, like Americans showing up at the border at the south, essentially to see what the fuck's going on, and to have a public eye on the goings on of like the.
How long is that gonna take to actually mean something or get you somewhere?
Well,
you see that in.
Ooh. Burp, beep, beep, burp. Beep, beep, burp, burp.
Oh God.
What's
that
happened?
was bad.
His inner
What was that?
robot came out.
You can do nothing, and
He
nothing's
borked.
ever gonna change. Or you
No,
can
I'm not
do.
talking about doing nothing, but that kind of stuff. I've seen that some people are doing that, but actually, I don't fucking want to write a letter to a conservative MP here. I just don't think that's not gonna do anything. If you look at the shit show that, for example, they putting on publicly and what's going on there, no, at least they voted out. I just don't think they're gonna do anything. They don't give a fuck.
I need to drop out. It's getting too hot. The heat wave. I need a cold shower. Oof. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
No worries, mate.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Good. Have
Yeah,
a
I'm
wonderful
not-
weekend.
Yeah, you too. Hope
Cheers,
it gets
Joseph.
better. Yeah, I'm not saying Pascal not to do that. It's just I just don't realistically think that's going to do anything. At least, let's say, here. I don't know. And apparently, the next election might be by 2022, and by the time that's gonna happen, then
Oh, it'll be before that, love.
I just
Yeah,
wanted
but
to.
I
22 is
love-
when it has to happen.
I just
So,
wanted to underscore Pascal's point about showing up. That's another thing that's been effective in. There's a group called Court. It's a Twitter thing called @CourtWatch and CourtWatch NYC, and literally all it is people showing up to court trials in New York City that generally would have no attendance. And it's amazing how they all of a sudden, because they all of a sudden like snap back into their roles. So the judge has more of a, needs to appear more impartial if there are people there actually watching than if there's nobody in the room. Then because they all know each other and can kind of, they forget what they're supposed to be doing to a certain extent.
Well,
So just
yeah.
just having people in the rooms and then tweeting when shit goes down and causing awareness is something that.
Well, apparently
can
in the
help.
UK they have announced climate emergency, but I don't really know what that means.
they haven't.
Yeah, well, they have.
We've
Wasn't that,
suggested it.
after the Extinction Rebellion? No, one of these motherfuckers, they were saying publicly that they announced climate emergency. And
Yeah, but the government haven't. That's the problem.
I thought that was the government that they did.
No, they couldn't give a fucking shit. They're more worried about who's going to be in charge, Boris or Twatface. You know, same arsehole, different wipe. Do you wipe your left hand or your right hand? Well, it doesn't matter because they're both arseholes. The problem with what's going on in UK at the moment is that Brexit and the
May
shadow
1st,
of Brexit.
2019, UK Parliament declares climate change emergency. They did. It's just what I'm saying is that they didn't explain what that means.
But
What
they
are they
never.
going to do?
But the thing is, it never did anything because Brexit has become our most consuming, self-consuming fact. Nothing else matters.
Here's another
The
example.
UK is falling apart. You cannot go to. I used to work in a hospital where you walked into the hospital within 2 to 3 hours. You were seen by a doctor. Now it's up to 8 hours.
It's like JFK said. That's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Essentially, it's taking action versus giving your opinion of what ought to happen. Because
Yeah.
if you just do the former, the latter is never going to happen. So you just keep on doing these things until change takes place, and you inform other individuals to do the same thing. So let me give you another example. So for the United States, currently they're going to be heading towards an election in 2020. This is going to be basically their last chance at doing anything in regards to climate, in my opinion. Right now they have a pretty large candidate in the name of Joe Biden. Not everybody agrees with what Joe Biden has said. They don't relate to him, but a lot of people do. And people need to sort of take that one on the chin and realize.
What do you think he would actually do something about it?
No, the people who are voting for Joe Biden though are people in his age group, people who grew up in that time, because they can relate to him. They have that boomer brain, or grandpappy boomer brain. So what kids can do, millennials, they can have conversations with their parents and just say, you know what, I'm really fucking worried, because when I took a look at what happened during the Obama administration, they said change was going to happen, and you know what, it didn't. We're still this coal-hungry frigging, monopolistic kind of an organization where essentially everybody is still acting as if it's the status quo. And what needs to happen is, my future is coming up, yours is ending. So I need you to start voting for me. Fox, can you please just stop fucking jumping in? Honestly, this is getting annoying, dude.
Yeah, Fox, shut up and do the thing that Pascal wants. Shut up and vote for Pascal, and shut up and vote.
But every time I try to speak or something like that, either we're getting off track by something completely and totally fucking nonsensical, or I can't finish the thought.
I know that feeling. Medication
Robin?
is the only way.
Well, yeah, but Robin, but you've got to, Robin, you are a moderator. And to be honest, I'm going to say that now in public, there's so many times that I got mad at him because he was listening to the open house after, and he was fucking infuriating when people kept talking over each other. Somebody started some interesting discussion and just people started talking random garbage, and he wouldn't moderate that.
Who was talking random garbage?
Everybody. If someone starts a subject, people are discussing something, and suddenly people are talking utter shit, and you don't fucking stop them. Like, come on. What's the point otherwise?
So this is one infrastructural change I'm going to make on my show. The game is not rigged, which is I'm probably going to move to Discord instead of Hangout, so that I have a fuck off button, so that if I decide that I no longer want somebody, exactly, I can institute some editorial control and control the speech of the people on my show with an iron fist.
Yeah, I mean, today actually wasn't that bad, but maybe being here, then it feels a little different, but sometimes it can be really bad.
It gets really irritating. Like,
And we forgot what we're talking about now.
Yeah, that's what happens.
The world's
We were
gonna-
talking about the older generation stopping, they just don't care. They just want to keep going, not caring about the future generations.
yeah, have the millennials approach their parents and tell them that, like, you know what, my future's coming up, and I'm gonna need you to get behind. I need you to vote for a candidate that's actually going to get shit done.
Yeah, I mean, my parents do agree, but not everyone of the boomer generation in my country would agree with that, which is what annoys the fuck out of me. It's like, oh, what would our kids think? Well, first of all, we'll piss on your fucking grave when you're dead because you left us with all that shit and you didn't even bother to fix it.
You just take a look at the polls of like where Biden's numbers are at, and you're like wondering, well, what the hell's going on here? It's because people have his back in one way, shape, or form or another. They've made up their minds.
Or it's possible that the polling is actually historically very terrible and oft inaccurate way to judge presidents because they've been wrong historically forever.
They've been fairly accurate, dude. Like the whole what was it, the Hillary Clinton meme? That's people that weren't able to read the poll properly.
Oh, okay. So everyone's saying that Hillary was going to win. It was complete, and that Donald Trump had no chance. They were stupid, and they were reading the polls wrong. Well, that's fair enough.
It was more that there was actually a significant margin of error with the result. It was slightly in favor of Hillary, but there was a margin of error wide enough to say it was Trump.
It's not you're completely ignoring the way the entire media consensus formed around one conclusion that was inescapable and that everybody was completely wrong because they were all reading the same crap.
I can
But that's just one example. Like
I can look it up.
Oft wrong.
No, I mean,
Like,
here's the thing. When you say,
polls
hold on. When you say that the polls are correct and people were reading it wrong, that also includes the media, you know. You can't just go like, oh, the media read it wrong, and that proves you're wrong. The media are the people who read it wrong. Come on, Drew. You're smarter than that.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, at the American elections, how many people actually bother their arse to vote? It's something ridiculous like 30%.
It was 50% in the last election, so not even half the country bothered to vote.
I don't think it was 50.
I looked this up once. I think it was actually higher than like the early totals were more. It turned out that more people voted than they thought. I think it was closer to.
No, voter turnout official 54% ish.
Okay.
It's still horrible. I do. Australia has it very good, whereby they make it so that you have to vote. They don't care what you vote, but you have to attend.
Or there are countries which are smart enough to go, hey, the voting day is a holiday. Whereas in the UK and the US, they go, no, fuck it, and we're gonna give all the power to your boss to keep you in your office, slaving away as you. Why the fuck do you guys always vote in the middle of the week during a fucking work day? Are you idiots? Yes.
Because the reason is the voting takes place on a Thursday in UK. It means the votes are counted, and on Friday you know who's taking over. The weekend is therefore there so that the old government can piss off and the new government can move in, ready to start Monday morning.
What type of voting you talking about? Because like with the general election, it's not that the voting is on a Thursday and on a Monday new government comes in.
Yes,
it takes a bit longer than that to hand over. I don't think so.
I hate to disagree with you, Magda, but yes, it is.
The vote's certainly on a Thursday. That's true.
Yeah, that.
It is for that reason. Literally, it's so we can start on a Monday.
Well, then that's fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, but
you and your fucking.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to sound funny.
Let's not argue, guys. See, this is what happens when you moderate.
And don't forget, it's not as if
Gentlemen,
UK,
stop fighting! This is the war room!
You see,
Yes.
people
okay.
start taking the
You
piss out
can
of it.
vote in the UK from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. And even when I was working in the hospital, I could still find a minute in time where I could vote.
Yeah, but it depends where you work as well. You know, some
Well,
like the
I
voting
don't
place
say-
would be close to your house, and then if you work somewhere further, I don't know. Perhaps it would be better to do on a different day rather than a weekday.
Like on the weekend.
So, mandatory voting is completely and utterly fucking retarded. Forcing people to show up at a poll, and not giving them essentially the time necessary in order to prep themselves and to mandatorily sort of learn about politics and that sort of thing. I don't trust the average person to have a political opinion worth like.
Yeah, but what is happening at the moment, though? Most of people don't vote. The ones that do, can you trust them?
With the
I mean, I
greatest
don't
respect,
know. So
I don't think
You
that's a
have-
winning
within
point
the
of view,
UK,
because the average person is dumb and should vote for me. That's the thing I want.
within the UK, you have 6 weeks to an election is announced, and you have 6 weeks in which to decide who you are going to vote for. And let's be fair, 42 days is a pretty long time to decide on what basis you want. I mean, okay, the first 2 weeks are parties giving it ah. But generally speaking, within that 6 weeks, you should be able to make some decision. If you are that, we have so much media, different forms of media.
yeah, but that's not. It's not informative. I mean, because it's supposed to perhaps be. Of course, it's not. They're not representing everybody. They putting certain parties only, or at least members from certain parties. Not everybody is kind of like, publicized there. So are you really saying that it's all just like fair and great, and then it's just everybody else's people's fault for not engaging? Or
So
that does have a lot to do with it. People
I'm not
cannot be
saying-
fucking arsed.
So
And it
in
is a big thing, and I mean, you know what it's like in the UK, Magda. You live
I
here.
don't know what it's like in the UK. What is
You
it like
live
in the
here,
UK?
Max.
Because I live
You've
here. What
seen
do I know? A
people.
mind of every person?
No, you don't know the mind of every person, but you do. You've seen how people act and how they operate.
Like how?
And I will be fair. I mean, when the elections,
I've met all sorts of people, so it's difficult to say how in general people act or how they operate.
Yeah, but you have seen how the system works in the UK. That during election periods, all parties are given equal time. That's
But
one
do
of the rules. I mean, it's why.
Where? Equal time to go and campaign. But when you're talking about the media, they do not feature
in the
everybody equally. Come
The
on.
media have to. It's part of British. It's
Broadcast media, at least.
Yeah, it's why Jeremy Corbyn did so well in the last election, was because everybody had to give him equal time, and all of a
But
sudden.
that's Jeremy Corbyn. Who
Yes.
else? What other candidates? Come on. You talk about
Well,
just
there was the
Labour and
Conservatives.
Conservative.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
and the
two
Liberals
parties.
were given equal time, and in Scotland, the Scottish Nationalists were given equal
And also
time.
that's just
And
3
in Wales,
parties.
the
There are
Welsh
other
Nationalists
parties
were
out
given
there.
equal time. And in Ireland, the Irish, the Catholic, the S.
You're still talking about particular parties,
SDLP.
folks. There are others. I don't think they're featuring everybody, to be honest.
So equal time is not going to
We don't have
necessarily.
the BNP, but do you want them
Not going to
have the
necessarily
BNP?
represent the people's interests. Like people are only going to bother if they have a vested interest in politics. And quite frankly,
Well-
it is something that is completely and totally fucking fine that not everybody is going to feel invested in that. That's why I don't think mandatory voting is a really intelligent way to pursue people actively.
You don't think it's better than the system we have now?
So in Italy, the voting is done on a Sunday. Okay.
Maybe if
How
I'd
about-
be allowed to finish my fucking point at a certain
I thought you paused.
Might be able to like come up with an answer.
You guys, I'm gonna go, yeah? Because too many
Yeah,
arguments.
bye.
I thought you paused.
Take it easy.
Bye.
No, no.
See you, Max.
I'm gonna take off too.
Yeah, what time is it? Yeah,
Nearly
we've had a
one.
few hours.
Yeah.
We can chill out. Let's close this up.
I
Thanks
do-
everybody. Bye
that-
bye 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 bye.
Whiny fuck this guy.
God damn it.